Smite when 5 die! It's a deicide! And the Food Fighters have killed 5!
Nothing can be done to stop Eternal Vanguard!
D5 puts them down for the deicide! And the sewer get flushed away! Food Fighters, they put the diamonds in the bag! The Scepter of Dominion! Everyone freeze! A quadra kill! He's gone! Who's up next on the chopping block? Is it? Yeah! It's a quadra kill!
Hello, one and all. My name is Moon Mellows. I'm joined here by Musey, and we welcome you to Season 9, OSL Athens Division. Musey, how are you feeling today?
I am feeling pretty excited. It's week 2, so still just the beginning of the season. Playoffs are so far away, so that means that a lot of these teams are still just kind of feeling each other out and understanding, who they want to play with and how they want to go about it, which I feel is, kind of especially true for a couple of the teams that we have coming up for us today. So all in all, Moon, I'm pretty pumped. I'm very excited for this set.
Excited to see indeed, and we also have a nice little graphic to show you our standings here, and it's going to look very similar across the board because a lot of teams are 1-0 at this moment, and the other teams who aren't 1-0, well, they're 0-1. And those of you who don't know, us here in the Athens division, we have a Swiss-style bracket, so teams will be fighting other teams who have similar score lines, right? 1-0 teams will be fighting 1-0 teams, and 0-1 teams will be fighting 0-1 teams, and today we have the honor of Royal Jesters versus the Crew, two teams who lost 1-2 in the first week.
So Royal Jesters and the Crew, I think especially anybody who's been paying attention to transactions definitely, has some stuff to say at least about the Crew, who were recently able to pick up Crow as a solo laner. Absolutely somebody you want in your roster, especially given how strong Mordred in particular is. So if Crow's allowed to play that pick, traditionally they're able to do pretty well on that end. But in terms of like the talent that you have at the head of each of these teams, I mean, Hydrogen leading the Crew and John rowing leading the Royal Jesters. So it'll be a fun matchup for sure. I'm always excited to see what JR has got cooking up. He always has some very interesting opinions about the solo lane that I think are straight fire every single time. He will put you on game. Do not even doubt it for a moment. And Hydrogen being, one of the best ADCs in the scene right now, in a time where maybe ADC isn't as strong as you would like it to be, kind of makes me wonder if the crew's going to be a little bit, nerfed. Their best player on their team, in theory, is in what is widely considered to be the weakest role.
It'll be interesting to see what kind of transpires here. I watched Prime yesterday. Most of the games were pretty good outside of finals, but we don't talk about that there. But the main thing I noticed was, it's a shifter shield. Shifter shield is the flavor of the week. If your character can build that and abuse it, you probably are. Susano taken off the board here. Good pick. That Shadow does like to go a lot.
So Susano and Giannis are off. I'm thinking to myself, some junglers that are really solid right now. Humbots and Susano were two that were very much preferred or prioed in the EU Prime set last night. Over here in NA, I still feel like there's a lot of value put on picks like the Kali, the Daji, the Thor especially, even Aladdin, even post nerfs I feel is still very good. But as you kind of get higher and higher into these levels of play, you don't rely as much on some of the Mickey characters, as it were, and there's a little bit more player expression. You start seeing some other things being locked in top pick. One of the picks that I find to be very valuable in this moment in time, especially because traditional ADCs aren't as good, would be maybe some of the magical ADCs have a chance to really show up and make something work. Newt, Soul, Kronos, maybe not the Soul, but Kronos has been seeing a bit of play. I think he can play there. Not as big of a fan of it, but anything is better than a hunter sometimes.
The band's now slowly making their way out. Yanis, you mentioned, taken off the board, and also the crew playing a member not down today, but not with their full roster. Deduin not being here today, so Stallone stepped up from the free agent pool. That makes that Giannis ban to me a little bit harder of a punch, right? That's just kind of Stallone's god. Feels pretty good here, but Huyi, Sobek, Kabrakan, and Aladdin, you mentioned, not going to be seeing play this game, so up to the crew for first pick here. And still, we have a lot of gods in the game. 6 bans, kind of not going to be able to get all the OP stuff out the way.
I feel like crew probably wants to play for Mordred here based off that Kabrakan ban that we see. A Kabrakan, again, is another one of those picks that is kind of falling away from that top solo lane seat, but still has good matchups into the really good solo laners, i.e. that Mordred that's getting hovered right now. Kabrakan is just kind of able to shut that character down in lane and make it so that Mordred can't execute their game plan. So that's why you see that ban there in the first lock-in for Mordred. But that is going to leave open some really strong stuff here, Moon. I imagine things like Bellona, Osiris are still very strong. The solo lane pickups that can fare pretty well into the Mordred. Osiris especially is just one of those characters that just cannot seem to die no matter how hard you try.
Excited that we're seeing more and more Bellona kind of have this resurgency. Bellona just one of those satisfying characters to play. Extremely simple, but I just love seeing that god make a way and make her name known for herself here. And the Mordred contention between John Rowing and Crow is also very interesting. Crow loves this pick. JR loves the pick, but hey, if you don't get a Mordred, you might be able to pick yourself up a Pele in that solo lane.
And Bastet will be the juggler there for Royal Jesters. I'm a little jaded when it comes to Bastet. I think that character is very, very easy to play, very, very easy to execute on what she can do, but I don't really think she's as good as some of the other junglers that maybe you could be putting in your back pocket. But in terms of the dive that you have between a Bastet and a Pele, it is 100% there. Pele and Bastet can go straight to a back line and cause a lot of havoc. Pele should be able to live for a substantial amount of time back there, and Bastet can just jump away. So it does make sense of the context of what it feels like Royal Jesters want to accomplish here.
I no longer think Mordred's going in the solo lane. Horus and Sylvanas locked in for the crew. Now we got something a little bit interesting wrapping up itself here. Sylvanas support, Horus solo, Mordred jungle. Very big question mark here for the crew team, but Royal Jesters, you mentioned it, kind of more standard so far. Uller, and it wasn't Athena hover, but an Aphrodite lock in for that team. These guys, they're gonna be running at you.
I like the Aphrodite pick here. I would have been on board with Athena as well, just to have an extra layer of dive to go with our Bastet and our Pele. But what Aphrodite can accomplish here is basically make it so that, hey, whoever I'm kissed to, they're not going to get Mordred ulted. They're not going to get, stunned by the Horus or rooted by a Sylvanas or stunned by a Guan Yu locked in there. Aphrodite can play up with the Pele, at an arm's length with that tether. They can play with the Bastet. Just offers an extra layer of survivability, but it does mean that Royal Jesters is going to be very much so like a pick comp. And
It's Sylvanas ADC.
We were talking about, hey, sometimes better than no hunter, but I didn't think the crew would actually just take it to heart. I didn't. Guan Yu ADC coming at you fast.
I have been watching Hydrogen play a lot of rank recently, and yesterday specifically, he played a lot of Evil Tree, as people have denoted it. This piercing Braggy's Heart build where you just proc all these items with your 3. So I'm excited to see it here up, but when you lock in an au point last overall, that team has Horus, Sylvanas, Guan Yu, and a Mordred that heals on an ability. That au point might get ran at, but do you think it's worth?
I think Apwash is a very good pick into the crew here. The natural anti-heal in the kit, the punishment attached to healing when an Apwash is next to you, but also the fact that the way that itemization is going for a lot of tank players right now is we're all picking up things like a Shifter Shield or a Phoenix Shield or a Glad Shield. All of these shields have health or HP 5 attached to each of their items. So you know what that means? It means Proc Slop is back on the menu, boys. Pull out the trough and start locking in the characters that are able to just dunk a Soul Reaver on top of your head and deal with these tanks. Apwash is one of those characters that can 100% abuse that, but also sit in the back with something like a Shifter Shield, Gauntlet of Thebes combination, E-Staff, Soul Reaver, Chronos Pendant, and then I don't know if mages are going to go like Staff of the Magus at this point, or if they're just going to round out their build with the Rata Tahuti and call it a day, and relying off of the damage from Soul Reaver Bluestone. But that is kind of the flavor that I imagine for this mid laner. It plays very well into the crew's draft.
Very interesting, and I like it here. We like seeing the God of Decay into so much healing for the crew. And the crew, honestly, the big question mark as we go in here, as we make our way into game number 1, the crew. And there is a pause, so we'll just keep yapping around for a little bit about these drafts, Musi. A little excited, but it's all good about it. And it's the question mark, right? The crew has a wacky draft going into this one. It's going to be up to them to be able to bring that play to field.
They do have a lot of engage and a lot of dive, right? I mean, Mordred, Horus, Guan Yu, these are bombastic ultimates that can just cross the distance and connect with an enemy team near instantaneously. The wind up for Guan and Mordred may be a little bit, but a Horus ult, it just kind of hits on the back line. You're just like, oh, okay, I've got like an entire dropship of people here. And Scylla makes it very hard to approach the crew if Royal Jesters is, maybe trying to go for the punch on them before the crew can punch first. That ranged root and cripple can do quite a bit of disruption into characters like Bastet and Uller, who rely on that mobility.
Mobility might be the name of the game, and if you don't have it, you got to be careful. My name's Moonmellows. I'm joined here by Musi. Welcome to week 2 of the Athens division, the crew versus the Royal Jesters. And Nova Shark is showing us here. It's a Guan Yu jungle.
So Guan Yu has made a bit of a resurgence recently. I've been seeing him a lot in solo lane, courtesy of John Rowing, who, will tell you, you want to look at something like a Berserker's Shogun's combination and just have your 3 live for, 7 years to get all the extra ticks and damage. From jungle, though, I feel like he's able to sustain himself pretty well. He doesn't have to back as frequently, and he does have a lot of damage. His ultimate is really good for looking for ganks and engagements, so I'm excited to see what Rabid puts on for us. Crow playing Mordred makes perfect sense, but Hydrogen on the Sylvanas aspect, the evil Sylvanas, as you called it before, I have not seen it yet with my eyes, But knowing the direction that we're going with this meta so far, I'm on board, right? I see the vision. You just hold left click. Proc items are really solid. You need a Tearfing, you need a Broggies, you need a Chin's Blade because everybody's building health. Even though Mario Bro might be in a stream telling me, like, no, dude, Chin's Blade just sucks. Health meta, anti-health item. Boomba, right? I'm slapping it on. Like, I don't care. I don't care what the propagandizers tell me. So I can understand it. Hydrogen can deal quite a bit with that.
Bit of aggression here in the solo lane, but two solo laners not going to be dying this early. The health bars always get me every time using them. Like, they're going to die. And then it's Mordred and Pele. They heal it all the way back up. So a lot of just neutral happening around the map here. Both lanes seem to be even for the most part. And Hydrogen on the Sylvanas does have like a lot of pressure. So again, the crew have like a minimal gold lead at this point, but it's all about that first gank.
It'll be interesting to see if Royal Jesters want to put extra pressure on this left side because Sylvanas Horus is a little obtuse in terms of a lane. Sylvanas does have a lot of clear, like naturally because of their AoE autos, and Horus can deal quite a bit of damage. You see he's got that Warrior's Axe. Around shield start tells me he's probably just rushing Shifter Shield as opposed to going straight for something like a Runeforge Hammer, which used to be the fresh hotness for a character like Horus. Now we're just all going Shifters, but Sylvanas is not very mobile, right? Doesn't have much of the way of movement abilities. Doesn't have anything in the way of movement abilities, realistically. He relies a lot on sustain, being able to keep himself up. Horus being able to add a bit of health, but Aphrodite matches that pretty well. So if Royal Jester's dual lane is able to pull, you know, a Shell from Horus or an Aegis from the Sylvanas, then it's a good gank.
Making a good gank. Shadows over here on the right side. Crow, though, still safe about it, and Rabbit is here as well. Two junglers just making their faces known for these rocks. Gumbo's made the rotation over from the mid lane as well, so Rabbit, be careful. Apua is here, which means we got to step on back. It's time for the first 3v3 engagement of the game, and the Jesters are the first ones on the rocks. Stallone in the bush has the crush, but it's not enough to take down the rocks, and Gumbo's, in fact, going to take them all on it down. John Rowing takes a lot of damage, but you're inside the crypts, baby. The Apua gets the first blow. Row on the back around, trying to use that Pursuit of the Weak to get on out of dodge. He's able to do it. Rabbit and John Rowing are down, but Shadow still going in there. Uses that ultimate. Crow, you got to be careful because this kitty cat is still on ya. The Wager Whip's going to be able to take him on down, so the Jesters come up with 2 kills.
It's the level 5 difference over there in the pit. Meanwhile, dual lane Krojiro taking quite a bit of poke, but looks like they'll be able to back away courtesy Aphrodite is able to heal up. The level 5 difference there is what pushes Royal Jesters ahead. And it looks like they're able to push that issue a bit further. I just saw Shadow take away that red buff, too.
Aegis forced on out early. I'm a Monster doesn't find too much purchase here, but the root, the Aegis in turn, Stallone is fine for a little bit longer, and the heals on top keep them alive. The Jesters don't find Stallone, but we forced out Apua's Aegis.
So this is really good setup here for Royal Jesters to be able to potentially look for a gig afterwards. Alt for alt, John Rowing?
Oh, he falls on down. Volcanic Lightning wasn't enough damage. We went for it, and we came up a little bit short. And now, John Rowing is now 0-2 in the solo lane. So, Crow's certainly filling themselves up.
Quite a bit of action so early on in the game. It kind of shows us where the strengths and the weaknesses are among these characters. Gumbo has no Aegis.
Oh. Aegis. And a lot of damage on the back end side of it. Crush fully leveled out just yet, so this Apua is able to dance around and make his way back on home, but the crew answer back in turn, get themselves a couple of neutral objectives, even out the kills, and so far, 5 minutes into this game, Muzi, it's explosive.
There's a Soul Reaver right away for Gumbo, the Opwash. So Soul Reaver, Bluestone meta, Opwash is able to just apply that very, very easily. Low cooldown abilities. If he grabs something like a Chronos Pendant, he'll just be swinging from the fences forever and constantly. And Scylla into Opwash. I do like Scylla here, just because I feel like her crush is really solid now that she's got that Spirit Deso. Some Flat Pen will be able to help deal with those minions, but Opwash is not really able to dodge the Sikkim from Scylla, and in turn can't really dodge that I'm a monster. So if Opwash, for whatever reason, doesn't have their Aegis available, that does open the window here for its Stallone to look for a potential solo kill, or even for Rabid to swing by with the Guan Yu ultimate and lock down the Opwash. For the same reasons why Hydrogen on this Sylvanas has to be so careful about their positioning and have to keep vision so that they don't get jumped on by a Bastet. Pwash has to make sure that they are not walking up too far, lest Rabbit is right around the corner to capitalize there. And Crow is having a really solid solo lane so far. John Rowing hasn't been able to get any of their items online yet, and Crow just hit a major power spike by getting their Shifter Shield first. So they'll have Prio over the Gold Camp, over the Totem, the Rocks as they're spawning, which is going to catapult them to a lead. And that's where Mordred really starts to pull ahead. That's where he is able to shine, because when you have a character like Mordred, he just wants to bully out their lane opponent so that they can start making, some rotations. You proxy a wave, you go to mid, you go to gold, you make something happen, you make something shake there. Whereas Pele takes a little bit to get online in my eyes, right? She is the I'm going to live forever and be annoying, but I need a little bit more than a Survivor Sash to get my items, or to get my damage across the board. My base numbers are not as high as a Mordred. So even though Crow suffers an early death early on in the game, and Royal Jesters have a really powerful swing along those first rocks, it feels like Crow's just able to shrug that off and still put the pressure on into John Rowing. And a part of that probably has to be something to do with the shell versus beads here too, where Crow is able to keep the fight going for so much longer, and John Rowing has this bead so that they can eat a Mordred ultimate if it comes to it, but that Mordred ultimate is going to be back up in no time at all. Passive generation on his passive meter, and just constantly hitting things means that Pursue the Weak is online pretty much whenever Crow needs to make an engagement.
All right, apologies for the wait here, gang. A small little issue. Shadow has to relog, so we're just waiting to give him some time to get back in there, but just gives us more time to really dig into these team comps, right? And also the builds a bit. Not sure if you noticed, there was 4 Survivor Sashes we talked about a little bit, which means that Shifter Shield, Olympus Shifters League, is away full and true. Very good item that's going to be picked up here. And we talked about it a lot on Prime, and we can talk about it here if we want, but it's a good item. A lot of defense, a lot of damage that it gives you, and then it kind of adds up this question of characters who, well, are going to be immobile. Apwa, he's going to be ran at, take a lot of damage, and so is Hydrogen. So I'm really excited to see how these team fights tend to play out.
Well, it's going to be both teams have ways to get into the backline, right? Crow, Rabid, Koja Fox can very easily dive on top of Gumbo, while Royal Jesters have John Rowing, Shadow, who can accelerate themselves, jump towards someone like, Hydrogen or Stallone. But Stallone has that sentry she can throw out and be able to dash away droids there. Hydrogen might be a little bit of a sitting duck. I imagine Royal Jesters are a little bit more prepared for a dive than the crew. A lot of that has to do with the fact that Aphrodite is here and exists, but also Gumbo can throw that Open the Crypts on their feet and make that entire area where the crew's trying to play the game just untenable. Like, you can't sit in that ultimate and not expect, bad things to happen to you. This 3-man rotation left, though,
is quite scary. Koja Fox to the skies. Might be careful by you, because there's a whole train coming upon you. Rabid gets the kill, and now the crew certainly feeling themselves here in the duo lane as 4 members walk up to that Gold Fury. And Sylvanas, again, not necessarily the typical ADC that you look for, but might be able to do some damage here. The solo lane, ultimate for ultimate, both of them are fine. The real target is this Gold Fury that's fallen down nice and fast. We are aware of it, though. Crew able to secure that one. The crypts haven't been emptied, and Rapid is chasing them on down. Undying Love is used to save our lives a little bit. I'm a Monster of the Wall is not enough, and Rapid falls on down to Gumbo. Hydrogen is here trying to get the procs for the damage, but we've been left all alone, and the Aegis was used a little too early. Hydrogen falls on down as well, and Gumbo, well, that guy is now 3-0.
Gumbo does a really good job baiting himself and Krojiro, throws down that Open the Crypts in the perfect spot, pretty much right where that ward is on the map, next to that Gold Fury pit, because they have to walk through it. Hello.
Indeed, Krojiro is here pursuing the weak, puts them up into the sky, but Crow versus Krojiro, that's going to be a nice one to keep track of for the entire game. Shadow is here, do some damage on the back end side of it. Phantom Shell used, so the crew's safe for now. But the beacon in the mid lane is where all of our aggression is being looked towards. Rabbit tries to step up for it, but you gotta be careful because the rest of the Jesters are here for strong.
Man, and it's what I was mentioning before, where Afro attached to somebody like an Apwash or even like the Bastet or Pele makes them very, very hard to go on top of them. And with the Soul Reaver already online and everybody already having something along the lines of like a Shifter Shield, the crew walking through that Apwash ultimate just tears up their health bar. And Sylvanas walking through it to close the gap on an Apwash, it opens up the crew to a flank from that top side of that Oracle pit, where they just completely piece them up. Like Sylvanas pops Aegis and then they are pretty much dead. The Sylvanas does not have the same, buddy system that the Apwash is going to have, because the Aphrodite is in the hands of Royal Jesters.
Doing their work to make Gumbo feel nice and safe here, especially 3-0 with a 2-level lead over Stallone. Gumbo certainly incredibly strong at this moment, and anywhere you mentioned the Open the Crypts being a no-play zone. The crew though, 3-man rotation, find a Krojiro, has the Wind Sprite to stay safe for now. These guys, they're going to be doing this a lot, it looks like. Just 3-man death ball, find a pick, and hope someone dies.
The mid 3v3 for the crew is fairly strong. Stallone has to be careful, right? They're not going to have the same utility that Gumbo is going to have. If you look at their build, they've already got a Talisman of Purification online.
Shadow has been caught on out and has to jump over the wall, but to the skies is being chased down by a Horus. Be careful, Koja Fox is on your tail. We have a kitty to slow the onslaught, but Stallone goes on in. Misses 2 abilities, though, and this Bastet is still alive. Gonna fall on down eventually. Koja Fox picks that one up. And the crew find themselves a kill. Hydrogen's made the rotation over from the duo lane as well, but needs to be a little bit too late. But on the back end side of it, Gumbo ain't late at all. Rabbit falls on down.
Man, again, just barely catching them on the edge of that Empty the Crypts. Gumbo having 4 kills and now 2 levels over their lane opponent. And Scylla is a character that needs so many items to scale towards that late game. And she's like a late game hyper carry mage, and nuker at range. Whereas Apwash, you've got your Bluestone, you got your Soul Reaver. Awesome. You're a character already. You get to play the video game. Like I said before, you have this Talisman of Purification, which is giving you extra cooldown to throw out your items. And I like that as a pickup. Usually you see something like a Chronos Pendant there. But with this Talisman, it really helps deal with all of the CC engage that the crew would have, like Guan Yu, Horus, the Mordred. Talisman is a really good answer here into that.
Fox and Hydrogen just playing a little bit of keeps away, trying to do this neutral buff. But Gumbo's here made the rotation to the duo lane. This guy trying to spread his influence all the way around it, but Rabid, the small little gank on the right side. This might gonna be contested with a gank onto Hydrogen on the left. 3 members here. Sorry, Tree, you ain't going nowhere. You're getting cut down today. John Rowing is now the next target. Up on the horsey, trying to slow him down. Get the stun. We find it, forces out the beads, but the volcanic lightning is enough to keep John Rowing alive and feeling pretty good about it for now. The rest of the Jesters, though, look at them. They're on that Gold Fury, and it's fallen down relatively slowly. The rest of the team is on the way, goes in there, but Open the Crypts is doing damage in tow. Stallone forced on back, uses that Aegis, and Koja Fox is close to falling as well. Stallone, Koja Fox off the map, and the Jesters, well, they're still on the Gold Fury.
Looks like the crew will be able to respond by taking away a Pyro. Poor Hydrogen. Like I said, the Sylvanas can't go anywhere. That guy is dead. Oh! Shout out Aegis. For Royal Jesters. Should have stuck to him just a little bit longer, eh?
The tree not going to get cut down for a 3rd time just yet, but you mentioned it, Hydrogen just not really having the greatest time this game, and that's just because the Jesters say, hey, you don't have a jump, you don't have a leap, you don't have any kind of, you don't even have like a stampede, to be able to run away. This tree is the target of a lot of their aggression, and they just don't have that kind of heal that Krojiro offers to Gumbo.
No, without this Aphrodite, it does make it very hard to keep people off of the Sylvanas. Like, Horus is really, really good as an engage tool. I like Horus to start a fight, to get active, to get in there. When it comes to Peel, like, on paper, yes, a knock-up and a stun attached to a dash, that has to be good. But those are tools that we're usually using right next to each other. Like, oh, I'm going to dash, I'm going to knock up Boomba. And that's usually happening to somebody else when we start a fight. So this means that Hydrogen is going to be left between a rock and a hard place where they're not going to have access to that kind of CC to keep them alive. Is a Guan Yu going to heal you? Absolutely not. A Guan Yu will heal you and pat you on your head and wish you well. So it feels like Royal Jesters' team comp has a lot of answers to anything that the crew wants to do. And the crew has a few very glaring weaknesses here that Royal Jesters is able to capitalize on. And that's not even to say, hello, OSL.
Fox in the sky forces out of beads onto Uller, so we're fine for now. We're still looking for the engagement, though, but the rest of the Jesters are aware of it and on the way. I don't think we can get him in time, but Hydrogen takes a lot of damage. If this axe hits over the wall, which it won't, so instead we're going to turn back around. Emptying the crypts is used onto Rabbit, who has the horsey to get on out of there, and we're just trying to pump the damage back into them, but the Jesters, they're nice and healthy at this point, and listen, we're 14 minutes into this game, and you gotta be careful, because the Jesters, they want you to step forward and make a mistake, because they are the ones who are going to come on top of this.
Shadow and Krojiro coming around for this flank here.
Gel used on out early, but a double cripple, and the crush is good. Shadow jumps over the wall, has the Razor Whip to do some damage, and there's that ultimate. Stallone is taking a bunch in tow. Hydrogen is here, though, and there's the tick damage. There's the burn stepping forward, trying to get the kill, but the link has been broken, and the Aegis used, so we don't survive for too much longer. Vayu jumps on in, picks up the tree, and now the crew are one member weaker. Rabbit falls on down as well. Vayu, that's a double kill, and the support ain't long for the world either. Triple kill for the Uller and the ADC.
Man, the old in and out strategy here from the Royal Jesters. Shadow hugging the wall of that purple buff, waiting for their moment to jump over and find that last bit of damage. On the low health target there, Rabbit was standing by themselves. I like the patience there too. Had to make sure that Koja Fox wasn't going to dash them the moment that they jumped over. So really solid play there from Royal Jesters, and everybody from the crew dying there. It's a tough time too, because right as that Moonlight Queen Naga is spawning, and the crew are going to be late to this defense here. Royal Jesters have been finding a lot of really solid wins. Even though they lost that first gold, their team fight is just so very strong.
Gets gone upon. Shadows chasing after them, and yet another Aegis is forced. And, well, once your Aegis is down, John Rowan could just run at you and take your life on the back end side of it. The Jesters pick up the Queen Naga. Koja Fox is the only one to step forward. And Musi, we're 16 minutes into this game, and you mentioned it. We lost the first Gold Fury, but who cares about that? We got ourselves a Queen Naga. We got ourselves the second Gold Fury, and now, and I'm pretty sure they've gotten every round of rocks up on the top of it, right? So these Jesters certainly controlling the macro game so far.
They understand what makes them good. Hello. Vayu soloed out on the left-hand side. Signs of life from this crew team. The Sylvanas, for as immobile as they are, if they do catch you in a dark alley, not a 1v1 that you want to take, especially now that they have their Tierfing Braggies combination.
The rest of the crew are here. Stunned out as Krojiro, and there's the Braggies. There's the Tierfing. Hydrogen just running, chasing you down, forces out the Undying Love. And Aphrodite lives to see yet another day. They're down, but once again, not out. In the sky is Koja Fox looking for the stun. The knockup is good. Aegis pushed on out, and Gumbo is already dead. This tree now has a shutdown, and we're looking around for a little bit more. Shadow over the wall has the Razor Whip, picks up Stallone, but Krojiro might not be left long for this world because he's being chased down by the rest of the crew. Rabbit picks that one up, and now Shadow has to run back home with a tail between their legs. Vayu, though, in the back, has been caught on out. Beats forced on down. You step forward to fall down to the tree. Shadow is here, though. Picks up Hydrogen, sends that guy packing on back home, and Rabbit is stuck in between a bunch of minions and takes a bunch of damage. John Rowing is here, made the rotation. Shadow picks them up as well, and the only one left alive is Koja Fox, who's being chased on down.
Shadow's got the damage of the root, but Koja Fox sitting here with a fully stacked Gauntlet of Thebes and a Shifter Shield. very difficult target to strip away, even though Shadow has some flat pen. I mean, you got your Jotuns as well as your Pendulum Blade. Man, those cooldowns are going to be actually just ridiculous to play into. Crew was up there. They found a little bit of a win, but they end up staying just a bit too long for all the mobility to get into a fight. They didn't have the getaway card to get away after Royal Jesters just started absolutely running at them. And I expressed a lack of faith into this Bastet pick before, but I'll tell you what. Oh my gosh.
It does
It's
that,
pretty good.
you see, but falls down as well. It's a 1-for-1 trade that's pretty good for Hydrogen. A shutdown kill, pursuing the weak. It's one. This guy lands back on down, and Crodro has to be careful because I'm a monster is here. Crow picks up their nemesis. Crojiro sends them packing on home, and the crew once again looking good. But what can you find to the back end side of it? We are on the horsey, but the wind sprite over the wall is good. But Goja Fox is here. Vayu ain't here no much longer. Sends that guy packing on home. And the crew making this fight look pretty good. 4 members down for the Jesters.
It feels like once you lose your Bastet damage, Royal Jesters just get picked off a little bit one after the other. The crew did a good job just walking it all the way up from that Gold Fury pit back up towards that yellow buff. Or the orange buff, technically, the devs would tell you. John Rowing
is here doing a little bit of displacement, but Stallone is able to secure the Pyromancer. And John Rowing, that's a Pele aspect. We've seen it how many times now. That guy doesn't take any damage and heals for a lot. Shadow jumps over the wall, straight into pursue the weak. Beads forced on out. We had the leap back to safety. Crodro here, loving arms, trying to keep this kitty alive. Rabid chases them on down, but we're not fast enough. JR, though, still here on the back end side of it. Rabid takes a ton of damage in tow. Shell forced on out, and now it's just a delayed engagement. Stallone uses I'm a Monster. Aegis was forced, but we didn't hit nobody, and we fell on down.
Unfortunate there. Blink, pull, Hydrogen, damage on to Vayu, but a stun should be able to keep him away for a little bit, right?
Right, but this tree is still running on at you. You got a couple of jumps, but when the axe is off the mark, but the rest of the Jesters are here. We played for enough time, and the Death Ball is here. They can play that game as well. Open the crypts just to put Hydrogen in one. That tree is not long for this world.
Say, where are my boys? The boys are here. We have found boys. Right in time for that Gold Fury pickup. Man, Shadow has been putting out a lot of numbers, but you know who else has Gumbo? With this proc build, E-Staff is going to be the next item here. It looks like we're going to have Obshard as well. It just makes this Upwash deal a ton of damage to tanks, but also limit their effectiveness because everybody's building health. E-Staff is going to steal some health, and Soul Reaver is going to chip away at the max health that you have. Royal Jesters find their second Gold Fury there. But what are we building on the other side of things, right? We talked about how Stallone on this Scylla needs a lot in order to really get the ball rolling. We have a Doom Orb and a Soul Gem, but we still need things like an Obshard and a Rod of Tahuti before we can really start swinging with this Scylla. 0-4, and just not as much damage as, you know, their Upwash counterpart. They're down like 10k. Shifter shield check, by the way, Moon. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 total. Shout outs. Yay! Even the Guan Yu's got it in jungle. It's actually like a tank Guan Yu build, not even a attack speed build. He's just got Jotuns, Dwarven Plate, just living forever.
Forever. Not taking and not doing quite a lot of damage just quite yet. Able to provide something to these team fights, but Stallone gets jumped upon. I thought he was safe, but in fact he wasn't. The rest of the Jesters take him on down a notch. And Rabid, we have the horsey just to get on out of town.
Goja Fox is going to eat a little bit of damn. He has to ult away. This could open up a Fire Giant pull for Royal Jesters. They have a ton of damage, but also their objective fights are really solid. Again, Upwash has opened the gates, is able to eat a bunch of or eat up a bunch of space, so to speak. But Aphrodite can keep people sustained. Whoa, look at the Sylvanas pincer.
Right, he went all the way in between the tier 1 and tier 2, spotted on and out, but Crow's the first one to start this fight. Pursue the Weak puts them up in the sky, but the crypts have been open and you land right down upon them. He's the first one to fall, and Goja Fox is the next one though, but we have the Protector Surge to get on out of there. Hydrogen, now the next target of the aggression. We have the Terra's Wrath, the Aegis as well, but with 4 members of the Jesters running at you, you're doomed to fall on down. The crew, 3 members strong. Rabid hiding in the bush. The Jesters, though, re-pick up the Fire Giant, but Stallone We have I'm a Monster. The stealing possibility is there.
Hey, John Rowing is going to be able to keep pretty much everyone away. Rapid is waiting for their ultimate to try to go for a steal, and that is like the win con for the crew here. Royal Jesters moved the fight away from the Sylvanas that was making that rotation. And whether or not they knew that, Hydrogen was coming from behind doesn't matter because it panned out all the same.
JR doing a fantastic job of keeping Stallone out of this fight. The Fire Giant down to 2.5k HP. Shadow on the wraparound. It's time to steal it. Can we do it? Nope, because Vayu has to secure. The Jesters have Fire Giant on 5, but what can you find on the back end side of it? A double stun, double knockup. Koja Fox goes in the air, but isn't fast enough to be able to get on out of there. And now Stallone is in the backline. Aegis used, trying to run for their life. The root from Shadow is going to be enough to claim his life as well. Hydrogen ain't even here. The rest of the crew have to skedaddle because the Jesters, all 5 of them are wearing that Fire Giant belt.
And while you don't win the game off of the first Fire Giant, it is going to put the crew in a position where winning the game becomes incredibly difficult, right? Tier 2 towers are not going to be long for this world, and the Ancient Gold Fury will be spawning on the map soon, which should weaken out those Phoenixes, assuming that Royal Jesters finishes cleaning up these towers. Crow is going for it? Question mark? I don't know about this big dog. Royal Jesters are so strong at this point, and they've got some really important items here too. I see that Heartward Charm online for Krojiro, so the healing would be more frequent. Oh, I saw it now. Hydrogen. Well, yeah. I'll miss you, buddy. It is what it is. But yeah, he's one with nature. That's just how it goes. But I also really like John Rowing's build. The Draconic Scales especially is an item that I feel like a lot of people stopped building ever since the changes here. But it's still very, very strong to pick up, especially into all the dots that the crew have.
Rabid's ultimate was forced on out, but John Rowing is still able to chase him down. Guan Yu, fast as he is, 4 members are even faster. Open the crypts, just deletes Rabid. That guy sent back home packing. Shadow used their ultimate as well, but Stallone, Crow, and Koja Fox, the only ones left alive. Hydrogen's on the respawn, but the Jesters, they're already here knocking on the base, and they're doing a lot of damage.
They'll have more than enough. If the crew keep trying to fight, and if they lose these engagements, Royal Jesters could push for more than just a bird here. We're still very strong. Like, Krojiro and John Rowing still have their ultimate, so there's quite a bit of survivability left in the tank. But I imagine a significant amount of gold in the pocket, though, that the Royal Jesters are going to want to spend before we go too crazy.
In the sky, a 3-man knockup on the left side. Phoenix is doing damage, trying to dissuade them from stepping forward. But our carries, they're still back there, so no damage is being done. Crow puts one in the sky, but he just dies anyways. We keep them off the duo side Phoenix for just a little bit, but the rest of our carries, again, still being ran at by a lone John Rowing, keeping the onslaught of the crew from daring to step forward and healing up all of the damage that he's taking. This duo side Phoenix falls on down, and the crew, their base is 2 birds weaker.
So the crew have got a long uphill battle ahead of them. And it's going to be a tough fight. To be certain, right? The neat gimmick, I think, of the Sylvanas ADC, it does a lot of damage, but I'm just finding that it's very, very unsafe. It's very easy to jump on you. Exhibit A, right? Hydrogen and John Rowing duking it out.
Ooh, but Rabbit is here this time, and John Rowing trying to take a lot of damage, proccing for 750. You see that? John Rowing, that's how you take him on down. Gumbo gets the 3rd Gold Fury for the Jesters, and John Rowing pays for it with his life. But still, that's just 1 member. That's the first little stepping stock on this mountain that you have to climb. Stallone has been found out by a Shadow, and, well, that 1 step we took up, we just took another back down.
Yeah, I take back what I said about Bastet. That's just a lot of damage. I mean, yeah, Syl is like level 18, but still, why is Shadow able to do that?
Able to do a little wind sprite juke, being chased down by Crow, but we have to pursue the weak, forces out the beads, and the Undying Love is enough to keep this kitty cat safe for a little bit. The crypts have been released, so Koja Fox falls on down to Vayu, and Crow, still here, has the shell, but not enough. Falls on down the same, and the crew, 3 members weaker. Rabbit and Hydrogen, it's up to them to defend the base, but our tree is all the way in duo lane.
Man, I don't know. Gumbo is also just frying on this, Pwash pick. And Krojiro with this Aphrodite is always there in the nick of time to be able to save out their friend from certain death.
Hydrogen stunned on out, Aegis forced, and now the rest of the Jesters hitting the Titan, wrapping up on the Horsey, trying to stun them out, and the I'm a Monster finds a kill. The kitty cat has been pummeled into the ground, and now the rest of the Jesters not feeling that end anymore. They have to back on off, so Stallone gets their first kill of the game, and we push the Jesters out.
It's a lot of gold in the pockets of Stallone, too. Shadow is worth quite a bit there. Tahuti will do quite a bit for Stallone to be able to get their damage across the board, but we're still lacking a larger penetration item to deal with somebody like John Rowing or even Krojiro, who's got shifters plus Genjis. So the tankier targets are just not going to be anybody we can kill anytime soon. I feel like we haven't had a chance to see the crew fight as 5 yet. You know what I mean? Like, it's always been 4 at a time. But the winning strategy that I see from the crew, the fights that they win involve Koja Fox just dropping a bunch of people on top of a dude and then exploding them. And then crew is able to take a man advantage fight afterwards. But Royal Jesters have been playing so close to each other, knowing that that's, you know, the main way that they lose, as long as they're around each other with that buddy system. It's very, very hard to go on any of these characters. Like, individually, yeah, you can jump on an Uller, but an Uller next to an Afro and a Not Plush, not so much.
Hand in hand, the Jesters are going to be on this Fire Giant. It's fallen down pretty fast, brought down to half HP, but we're looking for the fight on the back end side of it, and we've caught out a Koja Fox. Spear of Dominion was used, but too little too late. Krojiro pursues the weak, sends Gumbo up into the sky, who has a shell on landing to keep him alive, and an Aphrodite holding his hand, making sure he's feeling nice and safe. This Krojiro can't do too much on the back end of it, and Rapid up in the sky. The Horsey doing damage. Hydrogen far away from those crypts, not taking a lot of damage on the back end side of it. So the only one to fall so far is Koja Fox, but Shadow just proved me wrong. Cut down a crow, and Hydrogen has been cut down as well. Rabid, 2 members upon him, falls on down as well, and it's up to Stallone versus the entirety of the Jesters, and who cares about a Fire Giant? We're going for the end. Stallone spotted on out by JR, who's still running him on down. Shadow wraps back around, has the Razor Whip, Aegis used, and the rest of the Jesters, they're going down to that middle Phoenix, and that Titan is next.
Yeah, Stallone, even if they are able to make it back to the base, are not going to be here to defend, but Koja Fox will be.
Koja Fox is here, and the Titan's down to about half HP, but Stallone caught on out by Shadow, and Koja Fox is the only one left alive. A good knock-up into Krojiro takes him on out, but Koja Fox ain't long for this world. The Royal Jesters, after a brutal beatdown, win game number 1.
It really did come down to the fact that, you know, Krojiro was able to shut down any type of hard engage that the crew was going for, and you pair that also with Gumbo on this off-wash pick, who just ate up so much space with their ultimate. It was able to deal just a ridiculous amount of damage. That on the opposite side was countered by the fact that, like, I don't know, Hydrogen just can't really play the game too well. You're on a Sylvanas, you can't move around, you're not very mobile, and then you don't have the peel to deal with somebody like a Bastet or a Pele or even an Uller to a certain extent, because like Uller hits the axe and you're just like, well, I'm stuck, you know? Like I can't really go anywhere, I can't dodge this axe, I can't move around any of this. So it definitely felt like a draft diff for Royal Jesters that became very, very apparent after that Gold Fury fight.
The team fight from the Jesters was just so much more impactful than anything that the crew could even mention here, right? Rabid, I didn't feel like had too great of a time on this Guan Yu, didn't really do that much damage, and most of his ultimates were used just to run away from the onslaught of the Jesters, who tried to make a joke out of them. Stallone also looked better the more that their build came online, but it was just so much of the Jesters' aggression that just slowed that from happening, so Basila was never really an issue until she built the 4th item, and by that point, you were 2 birds down.
Yeah, it felt like we had a lot of pieces in the composition that we need to get to late game, and Royal Jesters just did not let that happen, like, by any stretch of the imagination. A lot of flavor, but just wasn't quite able to get to that finish line. I am reevaluating some of my opinions, though, just watching that game. Shadow has made me a bit more of a Bastet believer because, good lord, that damage was... I don't know how much of that was, yeah, I'm just like turbo farmed and ahead, and what are you going to do about it? Versus just watching a Bastet kit dump on top of somebody and then go, and you're done, right? Like, what are you gonna do about that? And the thing about it too is that it's just so easy to be able to press your buttons like that. Like a 4-year-old could pick up Bastet and play it at the world stage, and it would be looking fire, right? So, but man, if that doesn't stop it from being effective, like it was just very, very strong.
The good thing about Bastet is we're not going to see her in game number 2 because we have some vault bans. So all 10 of these gods not going to be there. And when's game number 2, Musey? Oh yeah, right after this short break.
Good morning, I woke up feeling bruised again. I can't find where the blues on my skin. Your eyes, they're a wide open vein of disdain for all of the colors I paint on gray. Your words I hear loud and clear, mine unheard. You won't leave me to silence if I walk away first. With you is not my home. It's time you let me go. With you is not my home. It's time you let me go. With you is not my home. It's time you let me go. With you is not my home. It's time you let me go. All I ever wanted was you to love me, to be the one that you could trust. Even though now we're just a memory, I just hope that was enough. Whenever you may cry, don't forget me, don't forget me. Whenever I may die, don't forget me, don't forget me.
Hello, one and all, and welcome back to the Olympus Smite League, Season 9, Week 2, Athens Division. My name is Moon Mellows. I'm joined here by Musi, and our amazing producer keeping the lights on is none other than the Nova Shark. Now, we go into game number 2, where the Royal Jesters looked pretty good.
They look solid. I really feel like their team comp was just a smidge better than the crew, who was cooking with a little bit too much flavoring. Just had a lot of glaring weaknesses that Royal Jesters were able to look at and be like, all right, cool, well, we can just kind of jump on you and kill you, right? Pair that with the fact that they had a really, really good start to the game around those firebrands that help, throw Shadow into a crazy lead, help throw Gumbo into a crazy lead over It's Stallone. Royal Jesters were able to, kind of mitigate the fact that John Rowing was getting beat up by Crow until they had their items online, and then, Vayu was just kind of chilling with Hydro in dual lane. But that is last game. Now we're on to this new game. Moon, you mentioned it before. Vault bans down at the bottom. These picks cannot be picked again. So if they were played last game, they're not going to be available here. So no more sauce there.
The bans this game kind of staying mostly the same, right? Sasano Kabrakan also taken back away from the crew, who decided to stay first pick this time. Giannis Huyi, kind of so far, bans looking pretty much the same. And if you're the Jesters, yeah, that makes perfect sense. The crew, I mean, if what you want to ban ain't playable this game, so makes sense keeping what we got. But the question is, what is going on with the first pick?
So I feel like there are still a lot of really solid first picks to be had here. If the crew would have opened with like a strong jungler, Thor looks like they'll be available. They just banned a Wheelix, so I feel like maybe they could try to play for the Aladdin here. And this is something that we saw crew do last time, right? They banned away Bracken to protect a Mordred pick. Now we banned away Bracken again, just so that we keep it out of the hands of, John Rowing. But with the Wheelix off the board, the Aladdin looks a little bit better. Or we can play something like a Hunbots, another character that kind of relies on the leaps to be able to get in and out of fights. So if you're Royal Jesters, you have to think to yourself, all right, well, what do we want to back that up with? You can kind of trade back and forth with what's available. If you're going to fight into an Aladdin, something like a Dodgy or a Thor, in my mind, would do pretty well. Lock this character down and keep them crippled.
I also like Ardio for that cripple that you mentioned, right? I feel like Ardio is a very good pickup here, but instead it's going to be the Osiris lock-in for JR. And I've been listening to you talk about your solo lane brain here and there, and Osiris is on the up and up?
Yeah, no, that god is unkillable. To be completely and entirely honest with you, like, Shifters saw a lot of really solid buffs, but also like Berserker Shield and the Dwarven Plate. These are core for Osiris. Kinetic Cuirass has been seeing a lot more play recently because you get to do damage for free, and it gives you really solid stats there as well. These are all items that Osiris can just plug into their build and abuse that make them very, very difficult to kill. Pair that with percentage mitigation attached to their passive and the fact that they can, throw out their soul tethers and take 20% less damage at max rank from somebody else. This makes this character very, very good at a brawl.
I like Osiris, and it looks like he'll be fighting Crow's Thor over there in the solo lane, unless barring any hijinks coming out from the crew again. And Danzaburo lock in here. Well, I was going to say it tells me this Morgan probably isn't going mid, but no. I in my brain, I don't know why Danzaburo just doesn't feel like an ADC anymore. With a Chiron lock in, makes sense what we're going for here. Morgan mid, Chiron, and that ADC, and Tsukuyumi in the jungle.
Tsukiyomi is very interesting to me because I feel like ever since the changes to the dual scaling Transcendence Book of Thoth change, where they share a mana pool now, so you can't like get a ridiculous amount of mana, the pick has fallen off a bit. But maybe Shadow's got a little something to be cooking for us here. I mean, it's good dive to follow up with your Osiris. Morgan Le Fay and Chiron can kind of cover for themselves in the back line. Morgan Le Fay especially has just so many get off me tools that she can use, and Chiron being able to offer healing and a little bit of CC immunity to cleanse with that training grounds, so long as they're not caught up in that Kerber assault. Speaks to me as a pretty solid team comp for Royal Jesters so far.
And once again, the crew playing their lovely hijinks on us once again. Stallone possibly going for this Aladdin mid, Thor jungle, Sun Wukong in the solo lane, and I'm hoping it's going to be Koja Fox piloting the three-headed doggy that it is. Herb Uris, you're welcome. I'll say it once, get it off my chest. But the rest, it's again kind of not a wacky draft, but an interesting one again from the crew.
It feels like the crew again has a very gas pedal forward fronting team composition where Aladdin and Thor and Kerberos are going to be going in and trying to start a fight, jump on the Morgan Le Fay or the Chiron, and overwhelm them with just the amount of aggression that they can throw out there. Jingwei as well as an ADC that is also very aggressive. She does not hang out in the backline. She gets right up in there with the rest of the characters that are diving. So Wukong as well is able to get the mix. So it feels like everybody from the crew is like, all right, cool. Let's all just jump on them together, right? There is no front to back here. This is like full on dive that I'm seeing. Whereas Royal Jesters have a little bit more of that front to back, some dive elements here because of that Osiris Tsukiyomi Athena combination, but more front to back and the fact that you're going to have Morgan Le Fay and Chiron being able to stay next to each other and help peel for each other should the crew decide to, aggress on those backliners. The Athena I like, especially nowadays, being able to have global presence, as well as just really easy CC to execute on, right? You just dash, taunt, job's done, I'm finished, I'm out of here. Who's going to follow up with me? Oh, my Tsukiyomi, Osiris, Chiron, and Morgan Le Fay are just going to throw abilities over a wall or something and just make something happen. So, really solid. The crew, again, have a late game scaling composition here where they need Aladdin to get to late game. They need the Jingwei to get to late game. And if they can't get to that point, it's going to be very difficult. Thor is going to be pretty solid early. He does a lot of damage, with that Mjolnir's attunement. Sun Wukong doesn't do anything in lane, but he also doesn't lose, right? He's a Wukong.
Yeah.
He should be fine into the Osiris. You cudgel, you Master's Will, you walk away. And Kerber should be able to help Jingwei in lane just to be able to offer a bit more pressure, damage potential. So crew should be a little bit more stable this game.
Well, can they hold the boat afloat as we go into game number 2, or will the Jesters be able to clean this out nice and early? We'll find out here. My name's Moonmellows, joined here by Amusey, and the eyes in the sky, currently in a bush, is the Nova Shark. And eyes around, my first question to you was going to be Vayu on this Chiron. We've been seeing like a mix forming for this character. Some people tend to go this auto attack build. Some people elect to go this like artillery ability build that we're used to from Smite 1 days of old. Vayu now has that Leather's Cowl and looks like what I would assume trying to decide to go that more auto attack route.
Yeah, ever since Leather's Cowl was fixed, we've been seeing a lot more players pick it up. Because honestly, I think the stats on it are good. The passive, when it functions, is very solid. Like when you're next to somebody, you get movement speed, attack speed. When you're alone, you get not as much movement speed, attack speed. Or they like switch whichever one gives you more movement when you're alone, more attack speed with a friend. But all of those things are good for a Chiron who has a little bit more forward movement. He is a horse. He's got the dash as well. So he can keep himself safe. He can peel for himself a little bit. And then when you're standing next to a buddy, you can clear waves a bit more effectively. I'm looking over at the solo lane. I see that Sunder locked in for Crow, and I'm a little worried about it. It means that the Wukong's going to be a little bit easier to gank. The Tsukiyomi should be able to, land an ultimate on them or be able to lock them down with a stun, anything like that. Now, you do have a Sun Wukong ult. Like, in theory, you shouldn't really ever get caught out or killed. He has a lot of survivability. But I don't foresee Crow being able to solo out John Rowing with the Sunder. And like that's why you have the Sunder to do extra damage. But Osiris with the Death Toll is going to have a lot of sustain, and he'll have, you know, a shifter shield early on, and then maybe straight into a Berserkers or a Kinetic Cuirass. And then suddenly you're just not really killing him. So the Sunder becomes not as handy until maybe you can start diving on top of a squishier character.
Butcher Fox has to use the shell early, but the rest of the Jesters push him on down, able to wrap around the rock, so he's fine for now. And Hydrogen letting those autos rain down on home and back dashing in. Gotta be careful because the shell is still here in the pockets. Koja Fox steps forward, but Shadow is here, and a 3-man stun is good so he can leap out, but we're still chasing him on down. Shadow doing the damage. Is it enough? No, it's not. No one falls down just yet, but that was an early gank from Shadow.
Really good rotation there from Shadow, when especially when the comms are like, oh, we've almost got this guy. Oh, they're turning it around on me. Somebody help. Royal Jesters, they're dueling between a Chiron and Athena, do have a lot of, you know, kill potential, especially because this Athena taunt, once Krojiro like has it available, if Koja Fox tries to use that Ghastly Breath to clear the wave or to get extra damage in, Prod Shred, you just taunt the Ghastly Breath, and suddenly Koja Fox is like, well, I have my Paralyzing Spit and a Dream for the most part. That's what I can do. Plus, a taunt is going to be a very effective CC into Jing Wei, who completely ignores, you know, enemy knockups because she's able to use that updraft to be able to, or the agility rather, to be able to just dash away right after the fact.
Hawks are up, so the next point of focus for the Jesters have also just spawned. 3 members rotate over for them, and the Jesters pick up every single one. Rabbit is around, but not going to be able to do too much damage. In fact, he's just being ran at by the Lord of the Afterlife himself. So, JR, just going to make sure that that Thor has to go on back home. And one thing that I noticed, Musi, Shadow looks like he's aiming for this Int Tsukuyumi, and we did see this in week number 1 from Tegbeer.
So, and they don't have the aspect or anything like that, but you do still have a fair amount of in-scaling attached to the character. Conduit will help you clear through your camps, and instead of... I guess you are still very much playing like the Tsukuyumi you were playing before in the Transcendence Book of Thoth shenanigans, right? Where you're just like, all right, cool. Now I'm going to press my 4 button, go to the back line, and just cause a bunch of havoc. But the flat pen int items are so good still, right? Like, just because tanks are kind of giga-busted right now because they have all of their fun toys doesn't mean that the mages being able to blow up other mages is any different, right? Assassins are still strong when it comes to taking down squishier characters. So that means that Shadow with this, you know, first item Spirit Deso that's on the way, you see that gem and that evil eye, means that they're going to be going for cooldown resets and just a ton of damage on squishier targets that maybe can't get away from him, right? Like, what does Aladdin do about a Tsukuyomi ult?
Nothing. Run away, cry about it as the moonlight beams are coming your way. But Rabbit making a little bit of presence known. Anvil of Dawn off the mark, forces the defender of Olympus. But look at Shadow here. Our piercing moonlight is ringing through this team fight, doing a ton of damage in tow, and Rabbit has been split off from the rest of his team, so he's the first one to fall in game number 2.
The Caltrops hit the ground. It just barely clips Rabbit as they try to make their escape. They don't have the movement to be able to sneak out. Hydrogen caught, but good peel from Koja Fox. I'll tell you, man, you know, Koja Fox on this Kerberos, but even on the Horus last game, was able to make quite a bit happen for the crew. So I'm excited to see Koja hit level 5, because once we have that Stygian Torment, right? Like, who has the beads to deal with it? Pretty much everybody. And CC Immune Ultimates, there's a layer of redundancy there. Stallone.
Stallone's been caught on out, and well, the Morrigan is here. Gumbo takes Stallone out back, puts him in the grave, and now making that their names known early once again. The Jesters up 2-0 in this game, and unfortunately, Rabbit just can't do too much to answer it. Rocks are up, so Jesters already making their way back over to that side of the map.
Scary thing to give Gumbo such an early lead, especially because it's Stallone is playing the Aladdin, who, like I said before, needs to hit the late game to be really effective. But Gumbo is again on a pick that is early out the gates. Batteries are included with this pick. Bluestone, the Chronos Pendant is there, so we'll probably see a Soul Reaver E-Staff combination coming up next. Proxlop. It's here. It's good. Like, once you see everybody building a ton of health, like the Shifter's online for Crow. I see an Engraved Guard there for Koja Fox, so maybe have another Shifters there for our Kerberos. Like, might as well, you know, when in Rome, smell some Romeses or something. Don't quote me on that one.
some shifters flowers, some
Oh,
there's
very
a
nice.
there's a flower there, but hey, Rabbit is here making sure John Rowing can't be too comfortable, forces that Osiris back to the tower line, but there's not really too much here that he can do. Just forces Osiris to sit under the tower, backs in a bush, and now all the meanwhile, Shadow is just getting his own farm in their jungle.
Ooh, he started with a Doom Orb too, not a Spear Desolation. So we clear camps and it just helps us clear more camps. Thing about these Doom Orb stacks is that they fall off one at a time. So as long as you're able to make it to the next camp, you won't have to worry about losing all your stacks at once. But now you it's kind of reminiscent of how you play Bakasur in Smite 1, where you go clear a camp and then you go gank, so you have your full passive ready to go. So Shadow just wants to keep as close to 100% uptime as you can on this Doom Orb. Plus, it has a bit of flat pen. It has some mana attached to it as well. I'm a Doom Orb believer. I think the Doom Orb item is good, but I'm excited to see how Shadow's going to be able to leverage it because it's a very solid spike here. Now we just got to take our full Doom Orb stacks and go find a fight somewhere. Mid looks good.
Indeed it does. The beacon raining rocks on down. The Jesters going to be the first ones to step forward, but Koja Fox is here to make sure that King of the Hill bar goes up ever so slowly. Both junglers find each other in there. Stygian Torment comes on out, pulls Kojiro back on in, and Rabbit is up in the sky looking for someone to land upon. Piercing Moonlight's going under the tower, which means Rabbit has found his targets. Beads forced on out, but we have the Defender of Olympus as well. Double hammer, double tap ain't enough to get the kill, so Shadow is going to run out of there fast as he can, and he's not fallen down just yet. Koja Fox can't stay around too much longer either. So no one falls, but the Royal Jesters come up with a beacon.
There's really solid caltrops there too from Shadow. It stops Koja Fox from walking forward and looking for extra damage. But what a wall from Rabbit, followed up by that, hammer throw. It deals a ridiculous amount of damage to Shadow. With that Jotun's Revenge, Rabbit's got a little bit of flat pen, but if they were able to get a kill, they would get the cooldown resets that they need to continue chasing after and finish off the kill with Kojiro. But looks like it's getting turned around on Koja.
John Rowing is here on the wraparound, and this dog, well, got sent to the pound this time. John Rowing picks that one up, but Rabbit is here and running down on Shadow, but that is one fast Tsukuyomi, so Thor has to go on back home, uses that Aegis early, and now we're putting some damage on the back end side of it, but not enough to get the kill. Double hammer on the wall. We go back in. Rabbit, what you doing? Because you're not going to be able to get that kill, and Stallone doesn't have abilities either, so low health bars from the Jester, but 9 minutes in, Musi, and still not a single kill for the side of the crew.
It feels like Rabbit playing a little bit frustrated in that moment. Like, you want to make something happen. You see 2 low health bars, 1 spin to win. Could have been everything that we needed, but think about who you're trying to jump on top of, right? I mean, Gumbo's playing Morgan Le Fay, the character that says, hey, listen, I don't care if you jump on top of me. I'm going to dragon flight. I'm going to throw fear at my feet. Like, you can't really play the game next to me. So it's a very, very scary thing to go for. And your Aladdin is not going to be able to help too much either.
Alone has to use the dash on out of there, but a Stygian Torment puts 3 under the tower and does a bunch of damage on the back end side of it. Rabbit is here in the sky, and he's going to land on down. He's found a home, but the shell is down. Finds Gumbo, but the Piercing Moonlight is good on the back end side of it. A shell of our own, and Koja Fox picks up Shadow. The crew still have life in them yet as they find 2 kills in the mid lane.
Man, I mean, Koja Fox has got a Conduit Gem Shifter Shield. This guy is swinging with this Kerberos damage. Still very much so an aggressive support. Wall out from Rabbit. It's off the mark!
But it's good for the kill. The double tap wasn't off the mark either, so now the crew, big swing back for them. Not ahead in gold anymore, but that gold lead now minimal for the Jesters. Barely 100 gold evening out between the 2 of these teams. And now Rabbit, at once I thought he was out of this game, certainly back in it.
Yeah, I say, being able to heat check Royal Jesters there, very good for the crew, especially because I think it's going to be a battle between the junglers, especially like Shadow and Rabbit trying to outvalue each other and get more damage out in a fight, because our supports are, pretty much dead even here. The ADCs are going to do what they do this game. Not too much happening in terms of shenanigans over there. And between Sun Wukong and Osiris, that's 2 laners that can never die. So our mid 2v2, this is where the focus is, right? Can Stallone get to late game? That is the big question. Can Rabbit help Stallone get to that point? Or can Royal Jesters find enough gas in the tank and just floor it and abuse the small lead that they have with Gumbo to be able to make sure that Crew can never get their plane off the ground. And Gumbo does have the beginnings of that Soul Reaver around the corner here. You see that Oracle Staff, a Soul Reliquary, so it's coming, but it's not online quite yet. So keep an eye out for that Power Spike. That's going to be the next big thing for the Royal Jesters. Once we get Gumbo with that Soul Reaver ready to go, that means that fights are going to start swinging towards Royal Jesters because there's already so much health being built by the Crew.
Jesters put a lot of pressure on rocks in their games. If you're watching this for VOD review, note that one down. They like to be there for the spawn because they're pretty good. In fact, it helps them get stronger and stronger throughout the game. But look at the Crew. They're trying to get active. And in fact, Rabid ults on into the duo lane. Vayu, fine for now because the Defender of Olympus was also used over here. But still, we're looking for that early aggression. Stallone on the wraparound. Musi, they might be in trouble.
You got 4 people stacked over here, and Royal Jesters are not here. Dash taunt from Krojiro.
Double taunt, and one is inside the lamp. Krojiro takes the Athena in there, and we're trying to look for our first pick of it. 3 members inside the lamp, forces out the shell, and this Athena just has the juke shoes on, missing abilities, but should eventually fall. The load auto from Hydrogen gets it, but who's waiting for you on the outside of the lamp? It's the rest of the Jesters. Up into the airstrike goes Hydrogen. Koja Box finds Vayu in the back line. We still have our Aegis, though, and we're fine, but not for too much longer. Gumbo's made the wraparound, picks up Hydro, and it's a 2-for-2 trade. Scratch that, make it a 3-for-2 as Rabid falls on down as well. That's a double kill for the Morgan Le Fay. Koja Fox and Crow, the only ones left alive to sway the Jesters away from this Gold Fury, and in fact, still going around for a little bit more. Shadow has been caught on out. Crow is here, and we're doing a ton of damage. Somersault Cloud up in the sky. Is he going to land back on down? Sure, in fact, he is. The shell is good, and he's still alive, but not much longer, because Crow uses that bull form, goes on in, gets the kill, and is running away, trying to stay alive. Gumbo, though, fears him on out. Koja Fox hits a stun, but Krojiro kills the Crow, and Gumbo is being looked upon by Koja Fox, still running it on down. Stallone not able to find that kill this time, gets stunned out by John Rowan. Koja Fox, though, another petrifying spit trying to get the kill, and we spent so much time fighting. Rabbit is back here from the sky, landing on down. No one else is falling, but whoo, it's bloody.
Man, so Crew set up a really good trap there to catch out Krojiro and Vayu because they wait for Krojiro to go for the dash taunt and then they all pile on and engage there. But it takes them just a little bit too long to finish up the kills in that duo lane. Ultimate out.
Adrian's been spotted and killed. Vayu picks that one up again. No Aegis, no beads, no airstrike means you're just dead in the water. That Jingwei falls on down. And now that tier 1 tower falling down as well, I mean, the Jesters are feeling pretty confident about this Gold Fury pool, but instead they elect to go for those rocks and a Pyromancer.
It'll be a good pull here, being able to get a Pyro Bomb right before the Moonlight Queen Naga spawns. All but confirms that Moonlight Queen Naga for your team. Just have to be careful that nobody comes to take it. They will be able to confirm it. Bomb in the hand of Gumbo. So I feel like that is what they want to try to use that bomb for. Gumbo should be hanging up by that Moonlight Queen Naga when they pick it up. But man, that fight that we saw before, Royal Jesters had a little bit of a late rotation to the engagement from the Crew. But because it takes the Crew so long to finish up the fight, Royal Jesters are able to pick the fight up after everybody leaves that lamp and be able to, like, yeah, you get return kills and maybe you lose Shadow in the process. But the goal there is mostly to just make sure that the Crew can find nothing off of the kills.
Jesters step up to the Queen Naga. It's already fallen down to about half HP, but they have that bomb that you mentioned. So they're not too scared, but in fact, they go ahead and unleash it and turn their aggression onto Crow, who has to use that bird form to get on out of town. Rabid's been taunted back in. The Stygian Torment puts one in the sky, forces out a beads, and we're just playing around in this pit. Hydrogen is here, forces out that shell, use the airstrike to get on in there. We're looking for a Gumbo who has shells in turn to keep himself alive. Crow, though, picks that one up. Gumbo falls on down to Stallone. 2 members for the Jesters are down, and they didn't get that Naga. Inside the lamp is John Rowing, and the rest of the members of the Crew are here to take him down. How many members of your crew does it take to kill an Osiris? About 5.
They all come out of the lamp into a massive taunt and damage from the Chiron.
Vayu flattens Stallone and uses the Defender of Olympus to make sure that Vayu can survive on the back end side of it. If every member goes in the lamp, we know exactly where you're going to end up at. So Vayu makes sure that it's not all for waste, and the crew pick up this Queen Naga. Rojiro is still around, though, has that dash taunt, but it's not enough to secure it. The crew pick up the Queen Naga. Rojiro dashes in, but a little bit too far away. The crew are already out of there, and that team fight was bloody, Musy.
Man, crew absolutely turning this game around on top of the Royal Jesters there. I always like to call the Moonlight Queen Naga like a turning point for any team. Like, if you were behind and you were able to get the Naga, it'll equalize the game out for you. It'll help you, make it so that you're more competitive around these Fire Giant pulls that are going to be happening in a bit. And if you're the winning team, you get the Queen Naga, you get to do the Moods map lock, you own the game, and you should be able to win it here. So, crew looks like they'll be able to, at least for now, fulfill their win con of getting Stallone towards a late game state so that our Aladdin can just start one-tapping people. It might be two-tap now after the nerfs, but still being able to effectively poke people out and away from fights and get that value in there. But man, what a combination from Krojiro and Vayu right out of the lamp. Everybody going into the lamp there. I saw it happening in my mind's eye. Thor ult on the left side. Looks like he's immediately out of there. Rabbit was not able to find anything. But still, good plays here from both sides so far. And I like the builds that I'm seeing here too. A little something different from Gumbo. Spirit Deso. Very much so leaning into the cooldown ability spam Morgan Le Fay. As long as you get one kill, you'll be able to chain into your next one. And it's a similar situation there too for Shadow. So Royal Jesters, if they can get a single kill in a fight, they should be able to snowball more kills after that first one.
Fox being chased on down, but you have the backup Stingent Torment to pull John Rowing underneath the tower. But that Osiris, boy, is he tanky. Doesn't even look like he took a tower shot. Able to walk back on out of there. And in fact, it's Koja Fox who has to return back to base. The Jesters now positioning around this Gold Fury, but over the wall, John Rowing spots out a Rabbit, and he's been taunted back in. Damage over the walls enough, and he falls on down. Piercing Moonlight means that Shadow is back in this fight as well, and Hydrogen has been split on out, but Shadow takes way too much damage, falls on down to Crow, and we're still going around for more. Stallone picks up a Gumbo, and this Aladdin is online doing damage. Hydrogen running away, his puppy dog trying to keep him alive, but Vayu picks up the kill regardless. That masterful shot is masterful indeed, and Crow trying to run down, get kills onto Vayu, and he does so much damage. Defender of Olympus gives a nice little shield on the back end side of it, but a stun from Koja Fox keeps him in the fight. Krojiro trying his best to keep his ADC alive, but he might fall down for it. In fact, he does. It's two members of the crew still running it on down. Can we kill a John Rowing again? Well, we don't have 5 members this time, so we have to get out, but the crew, these team fights, once again, keep coming up them.
It was a really good start from the Royal Jesters there. I mean, John Rowing knows that Rabbit is on the other side of that buff camp, and when Thor throws out that hammer, they've got no real mobility because Thor just ulted in the left-hand side not too long ago. So we know, okay, we're going to jump over the wall, we're going to get this guy, and we're able to, get that kill. We blow up the enemy there. But Crew is right around the corner with just a ton of damage to throw out. I mean, it's Stallone has got their Soul Gem plus a Doom Orb. So it has a lot of poke from this Kufic Invocation.
Koja Fox takes away the Pyromancers for the crew, feeling strong this time. Purification beads forced on out, so Stallone lives to see yet another day, but the Jesters trying to even out this falling gold lead of theirs. In fact, now 500 gold in favor of the crew. It's not a lot, but it's not nothing either. A good play from the Jester, or rather the crew, to even this one out. And Hydrogen getting that tier 1 tower in the left lane. Got to be careful, Musi, because they keep coming up big in these fights, and the more you do it, the closer we get to this Aladdin being full build.
Yeah, we are a couple items away. Ratatouille, I imagine, is going to be one of the items that we slot in here. Maybe a little bit of some percent pen for its Stallone would not be too shabby either. But we've got a pretty healthy amount of cooldown for all our abilities, and our poke potential is crazy. Crow's been doing really good on this Wukong too so far. I see that they finished up that Dwarven Plate. They've got the Glad Shield to go with it. Now, Glad Shield is an item that I assumed I would be seeing more of because of the protection changes that we saw in the most recent patch. Like, Glad Shield sees all of that and goes, cool. Now the big damage numbers that I'm doing is not necessarily conditional on having your percent increases or certain conditions. Hello.
Rabbit lands on down. Anvil of Dawn hits 2 people on a good wall on the back end side of it. Gumbo is dead. Rabbit playing big now. Hydrogen finds Shadow on the back end side of it. And once again, Koja Fox, these spits are on point. Finds a stun on Navalo. And Stallone has damage in tow. Crojero and John Rowing, the 2 tanks, meet the crew. But finds a Hydrogen. Stallone kills out Crojero, but John Rowing has a good pick-up kill on the back-end side of it. But we have 4 members here trying to kill him on down. Shell was used. The wall is good, but this Osiris ain't taking damage, and he's doing a lot more than he's taking. Stallone is here as the Genie's hands to try and put some damage into it. But this Osiris is just living forever. Vayu is back up in this fight. Finally, he falls on down, and the crew, Musi, they just killed 4.
Yeah, it was a crazy ultimate there from Rapids. Catches everybody from Royal Jesters by surprise. So this Thor is definitely putting in the work. Feels like Royal Jesters, because they don't have like the Aphrodite that they had before, it's a little harder for them to deal with getting dove on.
Rapid gonna get up into the sky. Anvil of Dawn is good. He went back in off the mark, lands into that tome. Gumbo picks up a kill, and Crow is just looking for more on the back end side of it. The crew now slowly falling apart. We stayed way too long, and now 3 of our own members are dead. Koja Fox and Hydrogen hiding in the bush, but guys, don't go in. We just saw what happened when Rabbit did it.
It feels like every time Crew is able to win a team fight or get a fight started in their favor, they end up sticking around for just a little bit too long, and they're not able to actually do anything off of winning these fights, right? We haven't pulled Gold Fury, we didn't pull Pyro or Fire or get a tower or anything like that. We ended up just taking another fight and then losing that one. Whereas Royal Jesters find those 3 kills, and guess where they are? Straight over towards that Fire Giant. Well, John Rowing just ulted Jingwei.
Hydrogen taking a lot of damage in the duo lane, but we have the airstrike over the wall, so we're safe for now. But the rest of the Jesters, they're on that Fire Giant. It's pulled down to about 4k HP, and we do have a bomb in a pocket, so that's pretty much going to be decisively theirs. It falls on down, and Gumbo secures it for the team, and Royal Jesters have Fire Giant on all 5 of their members. What looked like a fantastic moment from the crew. They stayed a little bit too long, and the Jesters, they eagerly feasted upon that mistake, and now handedly have a good advantage into this next fight.
And they've already hit a lot of their power spikes too. Gumbo's got a Rada Hootie ready to go online. I see the Dwarven plate there for John Rowing, like as if that guy was, you know, hard to kill before. He's going to be even harder now. Mode of Chaos means we're going to see an upgraded shell. That's going to be very good into the Jingwei, so Hydrogen's damage is going to be tapering off a bit here. Although Stallone also has a Rada Hootie power spike here in their 5th item slot, so that's going to be solid for the crew. So we just need to be able to replicate that fight. I need Rapid to ult in there like they did before, do their damage, and then after we kill a bunch of people, go away, right? Like, leave.
Yeah.
Go home. Find something else to do. Ulting back in on that mid tower, I don't know. It's just very, very sketchy to see that. Jester's pulling Ancient Gold Fury. This could be a good pincer from the crew.
They unleash it, re-pick it back up. It's down to 1k HP. Koja steps forward, unable to secure it. Gumbo does that, so the Jesters get the first Gold Fury of this game, by the way. But the rest of the team are on Koja Fox, who uses the Stygian Torment and the stun to try and stay alive, but unable to do it this time. Gumbo picks him up, but Crojero is here, stopping the back of Shadow. I'm not sure if that's a fight you want to take. Well, actually, you do a ton of damage, so keep that guy here a little bit. The rest of the Jesters, though, 4 members strong, running down the duo lane. And their next target is this bird.
So, Hydrogen will be able to split the left side bird with Royal Jesters here. And we were able to get a mid T1. That's what you want to do as the crew, right? If you know you can't defend your own Phoenix, you might as well try to... Wait, hold on. They are defending, though.
They're defending it good, and in fact, Hydrogen is here, takes out Shadow. He couldn't use the dagger, and now the trouble is in back. Stallone takes out Vayu. That's a 2 trade here, and Crow is still running it on down. Koja Fox on the respawn. The rest of the crew trying to see what they can find. Rabbit is here, looking for a hammer, looking for a wall, but Crojero, all the meanwhile, still chasing him on down. He's begging Gumbo to use that dagger. The double man stun, Anvil of Dawn is good, but we went right into the dragon, and a double taunt makes us take a lot of damage in tow. And we have the dagger. We're up. We're spawned back up, full HP. John Rowing takes down a Rabbit, and Hydrogen is here, and he's the next target of aggression. Has a crit and has that dash to get on out of dodge, and he's trying to put damage into the enemy team, but John Rowing says, I'll go ahead and look at you, buddy. Airstrike over the wall means he's safe for now, but that's big man scary Osiris running at you. What can you do? Because Crow's falling down in the back line, and Osiris is still running at you.
Good lord, I cannot wait to see the damage mitigated from John Rowing after this set, win or lose. That play from Royal Jesters was crazy to be able to turn that around. But Crew have a really solid defense around that left side bird, and in fact, they were the ones to pull away the left bird from the Royal Jesters. So now there's more pressure from the Royal Jesters to be able to kill that left bird from the Crew, because there are going to be fire minions pushing out from the Crew's base. So suddenly sieging that side gets a little bit more difficult. Rapid again has a really good ultimate. Unfortunately, Morgan Le Fay is just one of those characters that feels impossible to dive at times, because you got the knock up into the fear, and then Gumbo had a dagger on top of everything. Good lord, it is just unfair to play into when this Morgan Le Fay is able to live for so long and then reset their cooldowns and their health bar and just say, hey, listen, I'm not going to hold you, pal, but you're dead. And of course, John Rowing, I said it before, and I'll say it again, man, running it down. Look at that, 52k damage mitigated. Excuse me. Anybody who was saying that tanks were weak before this was wrong. And now tanks are super strong. So thank you, audience. Thank you for that. Now I have a 52k damage mid, top damage Osiris in my lobby, who's absolutely just running it down.
Running it down, top damage, top mid, and Rabid in the top of the sky looking for a land. It's off the mark, and the rest of the Jesters spotted him out. We have the hammer to get out of there, but he's certainly playing with a little bit of fire. The Crew are the ones to step forward. This Fire Giant hasn't spawned back up just yet, and you know what, Nova? I'm curious. Can we actually see the gold charts a little bit this game? Because I'm pretty sure, yeah, look at that, Yuzi. It's so back and forth between these two teams. And it's because every single time they keep finding these fights, and the Crew, they have a minimal lead at best here, but it's really anyone's game.
Honestly, with the way that Royal Jesters have been able to find something off of their engagements, it makes me think that they're going to have a bit more of a solid lead in terms of like a map state. I mean, Crew able to take that bird was strong, but around this FG, it's a fast burn from the Crew. Can Royal Jesters defend it?
They have crit, they have Jingwei. Can you do it? Crow is trying to keep them out. And in fact, Hydrogen secures it. That's a good swing up for them. And now they have a dagger in their pocket. The Jesters couldn't get there fast enough, so the Crew feeling nice and warm today.
Man, double bombs in pocket. That was a really good Fire Giant pull from the Crew. Royal Jesters are distracted by trying to keep their left side bird up, so they didn't really have the people in place to defend that FG. Plus, Crow's able to make so much space playing the Sun Wukong, being able to throw out the Cudgel, the Master's Will, and just eat up a ton of the area there. Now, Hydrogen has been splitting the map so well. I mean, that left side bird pickup, now we're over on that Ancient Gold Fury. It's just from one thing over to the next, and that left side bird is going to be weakened because of that Ancient Gold Fury, and those mid and right side towers are going to be so squishy so Crew can start their own siege. And if they can start a siege and, be able to open up with these ultimates from Rapid, when Rapid hits a Thor ult, it's a big Thor ult that they hit. They connect on like 2 or 3 people. So if we can replicate that magic, these fights look very good for the Crew. Just got to make sure that we don't overstay our welcome and look for a little bit more than maybe we could chew. And Royal Jesters won't be able to do too much into what the Crew is pumping out here.
Yeah, the damage charts also. Shadow hasn't really been able to make a name for themselves. Kind of like second bottom of the pack here, doing a little bit more than Hydrogen, but that's just because Hydrogen's been hitting towers more than enemy gods at this point. And it's really just waiting for him to find the damage in these team fights. Crodro has a double taunt in the mid lane, forces Rabid to use that Aegis. Shell was used as well, so he has the hammer to get on out. And now the Crew looking a little bit weaker. We have that Fire Giant sustain, but the Jesters, they do have the poke.
Royal Jesters have to be careful that they don't get flanked on. Looking Crow off the side here. Oh, Sunder!
So much damage. Defender of Olympus was used to give them a shield. And up in the sky is Rabid looking around for a bit more. Here it comes, landing on down off the mark. But Hydrogen finds the Phoenix, and Stallone finds Shadow, sent that guy into the lamp just to take him on out. And the Crew feeling pretty strong about this fight. Stingy and Torment used and forces 2 pairs of beads and an Aegis. Crodro has the taunt on back in, so Koja Fox has to be careful. Takes a lot of damage, and the Centaurus shots are enough to put a dome in his head. Falls on down, but Crow still running it on down, doing so much damage. Rabid picks up Vayu, and Hydrogen just staying alive, doing damage to the Phoenix. Crojuro has a taunt, but Crow has the stick over the wall. The stun is good, and JR is here being the mountain of damage that just soaks it up time and time again, but Hydro falls on down to the mid-Phoenix and doesn't use the dagger. Crow able to pick it up, but the Jesters, they hold on to the base.
Wow, that's so unfortunate. A Hydrogen dying there, dagger in hand, means that the crew are not able to take that mid-bird. And Royal Jesters have a successful defense, question mark? I mean, fire's going to fall off in about a minute. You didn't lose the game, so it can't be bad. A big difference that I'm noticing between this game and the last one that we saw, I mean, Hydrogen being able to play on this Jing Wei means that they're a little bit more self-sufficient than they were on the Sylvanas, right? They are playing their own game of Smite 2 at this point. Jing Wei is able to peel for herself. She's very safe. She's able to be aggressive. Whereas the Sylvanas last game, this was not the case. And the way this is translating is making it so that Royal Jesters have one less easy target to look for here, right? They can't just instantly blow up Hydrogen. They have to try to find maybe Rapid as they go in, maybe a Stallone on the side. But with the crew being as, forward aggressive as they are, it's very hard to find those moments until they're already in the mix. And if Shadow is getting picked off really early, if Vayu is getting picked off early, it makes it very hard for Royal Jesters to be able to play their own game. So right now, things are very much in the swing in the favor of the crew. Feels like they fixed a lot of the problems that they had with their last draft going into this one, and now we're just going to go beat the crap out of John Rowing.
It takes 5 members to kill him, so we send all 5 on their way. Stun is good, and John Rowing is as good as dead. Crow takes him out. And look at Coach Foxy stepping forward. That's, I think, the first spit I've ever seen miss from this guy. He's allowed 1. It's fine, but he's still getting in there and getting active. That's a member down. Look at Hydrogen able to back and match this rotation. We went to the jungle. Might be a little bit of a 1v1 for these 2 ADCs. Spots him on out. You gotta blink. And look at that crit damage.
Whoa!
Spots him on out. That was 3 shots. Hydrogen says, no. I'm the split push king. Go ahead and go back to base, buddy.
2 people down right as EFG is about to spawn. I mean, geez Louise, that's a tough spot for Royal Jesters to be in. And Rapid holding this wall, looking for something there. It's not going to pan out, but crew get a free enhanced fire giant. That left side bird is down. This looks to be the beginning of the end, right? Mission accomplished for the crew. Stallone's full build, Hydrogen's full build. And that means that our carries get to win the game for us. EFG in hand. Royal Jesters are going to have a pretty tough defense ahead of them, and they are not running a comp that is able to handle defenses very well, right? I mean, Gumbo and Vayu can kind of hang out in the back a little bit and play bombardiers to an extent, but I always like to say that, ooh, that was close. Gumbo on this, Morgan Le Fay pick, her range is not as high. She's still, when she goes to throw out abilities, in range of something like a Thorwall or even something like a Cudgel from Crow to be able to cross the distance there. So it's going to be tough for Royal Jesters to play into this EFG.
Hard indeed, especially when they pick up that ancient Gold Fury on the back end side of it. Now 2 of your Phoenixes are weakened. Well, actually 1 is, because I guess the other one just now respawned, but still your base is weakened, and now we're getting ourselves some lane pushers as well. It's certainly in the crew's hand this time. Enhanced Fire Giant is such a strong buff. Just gotta make sure the crew look fantastic whenever they play together as a team. So I get really scared whenever I see Hydrogen off by himself.
Yeah, I mean, I saw Chiron get 3 shots, so that's how that goes. I said, squishies are able to kill squishies, all fine and good, but John Rowing is going to be very, very difficult to kill. But when you're able to pile 5 people on top of an Osiris before you have to worry about anything, then, well, you don't really have to worry about anything, do you? So have to be careful that you're not getting caught out early, getting picked away. We're huddling next to our Phoenixes. We're playing the defense, the knuckle up, and hoping that the crew are going to make a pretty big mistake going into this bird. If you can find a pick onto Hydrogen, that's like an ideal scenario for you here. Or, Stallone would be a good pickup too, if a tank could eat the lamp.
trying to do it. John Rowan gets in there, and
Like
Airstrike
that.
is forced out early. We have the dagger this time used to respawn, and Crow, Rabid, they find two. Shadow and Vayu are already down, and Musi, it looks like a game number 3 might be in the cards. Talisman of Purification expended, and the crew still feeling pretty strong about this fight. John Rowing full HP, but the Phoenix is not, and he's still running it on down and doing a ton of damage trying to kill Hydrogen. Rabid finds Gumbo on the back end side of it, and now the rest of our members, the required requisite to kill an Osiris, turn it up, take him on down, and the crew, 5 members strong. EFG for 90 more seconds, go to the Titan room. Hydrogen goes inside the fountain just to fly around and laugh at the competition. The Titan falling down to about half HP. Kojiro trying his best to defend, but he's unable to do it this time. The crew even up the set 1-1.
Well, you let Aladdin and Jingwei hit late game, and there was so much put into the Jingwei at the very end there, but we weren't able to find that damage, and it was just crazy 1-2 punch follow-up from Rapid and Stallone to be able to go in with an ultimate and with a wall run and just completely explode on top of a couple of squishies there. So it'll bring us to that game 3, like you said, but I feel like the team comp from the Royal Jesters was still really solid. We just weren't able to actually execute on what we needed to do, which was stop this late game composition from forming before it had a chance to actually take those first few steps. But when the game starts to drag on a little bit, and when the crew was able to walk away with that Moonlight Queen Naga, that is, you know, a little bit of an indicator there, where it's like, man, that's not good. Like, we have to find a way to slow that down. Look at this. Is that 100k damage mitigated, by the way? Right. Right. Ooh. Right.
That guy lost, so tanks aren't OP.
Oh, you're right. No, yeah. No, you're right, actually.
Yeah.
So this is what they're supposed to do, and this is good, and we should be seeing shifters on everybody, and that's a good thing. You're right, Moon.
Yeah, exactly.
Because he lost.
Nothing should change here.
Shout out.
But honestly, Hydrogen looked insanely good that game. Last game, he was playing the Sylvanas and didn't, you know, have as good as a game this time he had. Able to split push, run it down the duo side lane, take out the Phoenix. It looked pretty good.
Yes, I mean, Hydrogen being able to play their own game instead of playing the Sylvanas definitely helps push things towards the favor of the crew. Like, part of the reason the crew lost game 1 is because their best player was on a pick that got picked constantly, right?
Yeah.
You give this guy a character that is actually able to fend for themselves, and suddenly your game becomes a lot easier to play. So that is the mentality that we need from the crew going into game 3. We need to give something to Hydrogen that they're able to be self-sufficient on and can carry their lane and win the game in their own right. We need to make sure that Rapid has some kind of CC that they can land to set up the rest of their team so that Stallone can play off of them. And I guess you need to give Crow Sun Wukong again, because when we were playing the Mordred, it wasn't it. But this Wukong pick was looking pretty good. One of the 3 Wukong players that exist in the world right now. So it's like...
Looks extremely good here for Crow, and able to bring us to a game number 3, so don't go anywhere just yet. We got more Athens Division action coming at you right after the short break.
Heard me call for help. Have you ever heard me yell out your name? Have you ever wished the sand of an hourglass would pour down and cover my face up? If the sails all catch on fire, then we'll go down. If the moon and stars go out, we'll light up our own. If the earth beneath you drops, I'll still be your ground. As long as I'm around. If the sails all catch on fire, then we'll go down. If the moon catch on fire, then we'll go down. If the moon and stars go out, we'll light up our own. If the earth beneath you drops, I'll still be your ground. As long as I'm around. If the stars all catch on fire, then we'll go down. If the moon and stars go out, we'll light up our own. If the earth beneath you drops, I'll still be your ground. If you kiss me one more time before I
Hello, one and all, and welcome back to the Olympus Smite League Athens Division Season 9, Week number 2. My name is Moon Mellows. I'm joined here by Musy, and the person keeping the lights running up top is going to be the Nova Shark. Royal Jesters were able to win game number 1. Correct. The crew able to pull out a fantastic game number 2 to pull us to a 3-game set. Musy, how are you feeling?
Feeling pretty good. I feel like the crew has been able to fix a lot of the problems that they had in the first game, and it helps them get a win in game number 2 here. And it really, in my mind, is coming down to how much space does Hydro have to play the video game, right? Because part of what enables the crew to hold that defense on the left side bird was the fact that Hydro was able to take the enemy side, left side bird beforehand, and then show up right in the nick of time to be able to clean everything up. He's able to win 1v1s up against Vayu. He's able to keep himself peeled and alive. So we need to be able to give Hydro another pick that can do that, right? Like a true, legitimate ADC that helps them get across that finish line. While we do this, crew needs to make sure that we're keeping Shadow and Gumbo in check, because I really do feel that Shadow and Gumbo are going to be a little bit stronger over Rabbit and It's Stallone. But Crow has shown that they can handle John rowing in lane. We just need to make sure that as they're handling John rowing in lane, we can take Crow and put them in the middle of a team fight so that we can have our super strong solo laner show up for these fights and be able to execute for the rest of the crew here. So if these things can happen, Royal Jesters are going to have a very, very difficult time. On the other hand, Royal Jesters, if you let Shadow and Gumbo run the show here, their mid 3v3 with Shadow, Gumbo, Krojiro is so very, very strong. Vayu is a very competent player. He should be able to hold his own against Hydrogen and try to neutralize that lane. And John Rowing, as long as they are able to not give up too much in solo and play a pick like the Pele, like the Osiris even, where they're just chilling in lane until it's time to leave and then go join a team fight and be relevant, game plan similar to Crow's, Royal Jesters should be looking pretty good, right? Just got to make sure that we're paying a little bit more attention to the map and watching where Hydro is. I feel like that's going to be a big thing for both teams.
Hydrogen looked so good on this Jingwei and was even able to have like a really funny play where he just wrapped around the jungle flying out of the base and then shot Chiron on the back end side of it. He was like, I'm a sneaky little bird. I'm going to explode you. And that's what he did. And it looked fantastic. And it was one of the plays that enabled them to be able to just run it down. So I like Hydrogen on the ADC picks. Surprisingly enough, looked very good here. Bans, though, not changing all too much outside of that Daji now as we make our way into game number 3. Sobek, Giannis, Susano, Kabrakan, Huyi, and of course, that Daji I mentioned, not going to be seeing play, and neither of the gods that we saw in game number 1 or game number 2. What do you think the Jesters are looking to first pick here?
So Susano and Dodgy are both banned. I feel like in terms of good junglers, you're probably looking at something along the lines of maybe a Hunbots or a Shadow. It feels like Shadow likes to play picks that are very like fraggy. Wouldn't be surprised to see something along the lines of like a Loki or a Thanatos either. But okay. And this Achilles is interesting because this could go to either John Rowing or Shadow. I feel like Achilles jungle is a little bit slept on. Definitely has a lot of damage. Execute, being able to rotate across the map. Very, very good, especially into all of the very tanky targets that we have. Being able to ignore, a third of their health bar and just take them off the board. Feels very strong in my eyes.
Yemoja Newt as an answer, and we've gotten so used to how good Yemoja is. It's still like every time I see that locked in, it just sounds like a hammer hitting like a doom. You know what I mean? Anytime someone selects that god, especially when it's a person as good as Koja Fox, who looked fantastic on Cerberus. I say Cerberus is a god who doesn't necessarily have like a lot of self peel for teammates. He made it look like he did. Those stuns were always on point.
Oh, I saw the Amaterasu hover and I was like, whoa, dog. but not quite. So I agree. I feel like Akoja is able to really play for his team, and a Yemoja will help him execute on that as well. And Newt, I feel like if Hydro goes the Newt ADC, I feel that is very, very strong, especially with the build that's been floating around for players that are out of the loop. You go like Death's Toll, Tearfing, Shifters into like Avenging Blade XC, and you're able to really shred through a tank's health bar, which is something you need going into a pick like the Achilles, who is able to have a lot of natural health and protections because of their passive, and then pop their 2. Some of them have a physical health shield. That Neath locked in alongside the Newt. I do believe it's going to be like a Newt ADC and a Neath mid, so good global presence, good teamfight capability. We hovered and locked in a Cupid. What is going on here, right?
The crew love to just make me go, what? This is the 3rd game in a row they've locked in something that just has a question mark on it. Game number 2, it looked good, but is this Cupid jungle?
Does Crow play Cupid solo? Does Crow play Neath solo?
There's no world it's Cupid solo. I'm sorry. If it's Cupid, I'm leaving. That would be surprising to me.
I'm out of here,
That's interesting. I don't know.
So the last pick for the cruise comp, I think, will give us a little bit more answers as to what's happening over there. But as far as the other side, we do have Jormungandr, Iset Hover, a Zeus, and an On Her. Iset's been seeing a lot more play recently in the solo lane because of her aspect and being able to go like Runeforge into protections, but still very, very strong in support as well. I love this Bellota pick. I feel like if you can't pick Osiris, Bellota is also just very, very strong to have in the back pocket. She uses Kinetic Cuirass really effectively. She can build Berserkers. She can build all the tank items that are good and just be a character that can get into a backline, throw down that Eagles Rally, and also into the fact that you see 1, 2, 3 auto attackers from the crew. Scourge becomes a very, very useful tool into this team comp to be able to disarm everyone.
Chances to win the fight have diminished.
Mulan is the final pick for the crew, and unfortunately, that does not clear up any of the.
No, it doesn't help at all, actually.
yeah, because I'm like, Hua Mulan jungle could be a Cupid solo. I will scream and leave, but this makes me happy. Everything over here makes sense.
Big fan of this. Yeah, this is good. I love this.
No, I don't like that.
No. Hear me out. Cupid jungle. I feel like somebody played Cupid jungle. I've seen some. Yeah, I think like Sino played like a Cupid jungle. If I'm gonna pick any of these characters to be a jungler, I would like to see the Cupid, just because like Fields of Love on a rotating stick sounds busted to me. That has to be good. Being able to throw a giant AoE cripple field on a rotation or a gank that you like dash at them and they can't run away from you. That has to be solid. But I like the team, like the draft as a whole, without thinking about lanes or anything like that, but thinking about purely from a team fight perspective. Crew's draft kind of gnarly. Crew's draft kind of sick, right? If we can get to the late game and fight around an objective, look me in the eyes and tells me that getting trapped in a Yamoja ultimate, an Ansile Mulan ultimate, and a Fields of Love is not the single most miserable experience any Smite player can have in their lives, right? Like, that just sounds awful. That just sounds like the worst thing to have happen to you in your life. Like, you get off the game afterwards, you talk to your mom, and you're just like, I think I gotta find something else to do. I'm going back to school. I'm gonna become a communications major. Like, I'm doing something else entirely different with my life. And Royal Jester's team comp is also very, very good for similar reasons, to be honest. Think of all the giant circles that we got going on here. Zeus and Eset, you have a Bellona to help lock down, you have On Her and Achilles that have great single target damage, be it an execute or just chucking spears in your face. So I think both team comps are looking pretty fun here.
It's finally time to see where all these weird picks are going as we make our way into game number 3. Hello, one and all. My name is Moonmellows. I'm joined here by Amusey, and it's a Rabbit piloting a Cupid jungle in a game number 3, no less.
That makes sense. See, this makes sense to me. I can accept this. Cupid jungle is fine to me. And what it's able to do is bring this Fields of Love to each lane. It's just a rotating Cupid ultimate on a stick. But also Cupid's got really solid clear for a hunter, right? Like Love Bomb is able to clear through camps pretty effectively. You Heart Bomb the big minion, it instantly kills the side minions. You've also got this Leather Cowl start. So while you're alone, you are getting more movement speed. Not pathfinding or anything like that. No, movement speed, the stat. So this Cupid's going to be able to go from camp to camp pretty quickly and be able to aid their teammates or just keep the farm action going. This means that Crew's objective fights are going to be looking really good when we get to that point. And it also means that we get to keep Neith in the mid lane and Newt in dual lane, which is where I think I would love to see both of these characters stay, right? Neith, ultimate from mid lane. It's the shortest travel time anywhere on the map when you put her right in the center. And then Newt ADC just has so much pressure, especially when you pair it with that Yamoja. It does so much damage. It's just very, very hard to keep up with. Even when you have like an E-set support, like you're like, oh, I've got mage clear to go with my honor. It has to be good. Yeah, I mean, your E-set doesn't have any scaling, but it's just not enough. It doesn't compare to Yamoja Newt.
And he gets forced on out early to Crow here just to immune that bludgeon damage. And again, these solo laners duking it out early. And Rabbit on this Cupid is going to be an interesting thing to look at because I don't think it necessarily has the worst matchup into Achilles. Shadow, by the way, keep an eye on him, making the rotation over to the duo lane, daring the Crew to step on forward, which in fact they do. Stun, blink onto Hydrogen, but Kojafox doing their best to try and keep them out. The shell is good, so Hydrogen doesn't fall down just yet. And Shadow, well, gonna go ahead and invade these back camps.
It's very hard to jump on a Newt Yemo combo because Newt is able to peel for herself to an extent, at least, right? Like she's got the root that she throws down, but the root can set up the stun from Yamoja, or the Yamoja stun can set up the root for Newt. It like loops back into each other. And while that happened, it looks like there was a gank that tried to happen in solo side, and we're double dipping in left.
We stayed over here in the left on a lane, and Hydrogen falls down for first blood. Vayu picks that one up. This On Her gets a kill early, and this Lion loves getting those kills. Royal Jesters are the first ones up on the board.
So Royal Jesters understand what their win con for this set is. We have to keep Hydrogen in check. Make sure that this Newt is not able to play the game, right? And then while we're putting so much pressure into the left side, this is going to give Shadow some extra farm. We even had a chance to talk about Gumbo in mid.
Once again being ran at, and has the juke shoes for days, has his own lightning storm to make sure that Rabbit can't get in there, but Stallone hits the spirit arrow for the root, slows down this speedy Zeus, and we're still running him on down. Has enough mana to use one more movement speed boost, but has the juke shoes. Can he immune the damage? He misses the heart bomb, so Gumbo's fine for now.
Boys are here!
And he's still alive! The rest of the boys, John Rowing keeping them alive, and Rabbit has been collapsed upon by Shadow. Now it's time for Crow to try his best to stay alive. Stallone falls on down to John Rowing, and now the Jesters making this early game look very good indeed. Crow taking a lot of damage because Shadow decided to stick around, falls on down. Shadow picks that one up, and Rabbit, well, he's here, but he shouldn't be too much longer.
Gosh, that is such a bad omen for the crew. Not only does Hydrogen fall down, but Stallone and Rabbit aren't able to hit 2 autos to kill Gumbo. In their defense, Zeus has so much movement speed attached to, their lightning shield, but he only popped it once. Like, he's got no mana to get away from there. Shout out Thunderclap. Like, you get attack speed, movement speed, and haste for 5 seconds. 5 seconds of juke shoes, and then, 100 health. That's 2 autos. You just got to hit that guy twice. It just wasn't able to happen. Boy showed up from the solo side. Good rotation there from John Rowing and from Shadow. And this is, again, the win con for Royal Jesters. Gumbo and Shadow now are going to have a little bit more gold in their pocket, and John Rowing is going to be ahead of a Mulan, and that sounds miserable to fight against.
Nightfall pulls Vayu back a little bit, but he's made enough distance that he's fine for now. The crew still trying to look for something, but none able to do so at this moment. Gumbo, once again, looks like he might be opting for a similar build that he did in game number 1 as Crow pushed back home. And again, Gumbo looks like the target of aggression. We're stuck in a Umoja ultimate. How can you get away this time? Well, you just drop ultimates on yourself. 3 is what it's going to take this Zeus on out. And finally, that Zeus paid for his earlier life.
I mean, it's a good layering of the ultimates there. Zeus notably has Aegis, and it was down because of the shenanigans from that last engagement, but no Shell. In fact, the only player with Shell is going to be Krojiro and John Rowing. Love to see them upgrade those so that we have those in the back pocket, but Yemo ultimate plus that Fields of Love, I mean, there's just no real escaping that for a character like Zeus, who doesn't have a dash. He's got that Thunderclap, but that's about it. Left side, up top. Uh-oh.
Ooh. Hydrogen caught on out. Shadow picked him up. And there's a real lack of beads in this game as well. Not a lot of big CC abilities, but the Jesters still have good lockdown in their kit. So we're going to kill ourselves a Hydrogen. Look at this Gold Fury. It's falling down pretty fast. Stallone's on the wraparound trying to steal it away, but a blink stun makes it where he can't take that one on out, and Shadow chasing him on down gets the kill. Stallone falls, and Shadow picks that one up.
Oh god, Stallone stole the Gold Fury though. So like, yo, who cares? That's crazy. So what? He must have thrown down just an ability on the way out there. It was able to get it with the proc of like Conduit. I
was like, you were going off. I was like, oh, okay, this is normal. And then I realized, I was like, what? The crew able to at least keep the boat afloat. The Jesters still have a lead at this moment, 5-1, but it's not a huge chasm between these teams because of that steal now.
Well, and I wonder, the Gold Fury must have been pulled towards Stallone, because that guy was like 5 million feet away from the Gold Fury pit, it felt like. Because it got shoved back by the blink stun from Shadow, which looks so good. Forces the beads away from Stallone, and then they were able to steal it anyways. And what sucks is that like Shadow like did everything right there, and you have Krojiro with the circle of protection on top of the Gold Fury. So like, how in the world does he steal that? The only way that could have happened in my mind is like you pull the Gold Fury out of that circle on accident. Krojiro isn't able to confirm. Stallone throws out the ability. Bada bing, bada boom. Now we're walking out of the base 50% faster. That's a good mental check for the crew. That keeps them in the game after suffering so many, early picks so early on in this game. So being able to be like, all right, cool, guys, we're still in this. We don't have to freak out. We don't have to panic. Look, I stole gold. Let's make sure that we're not losing our head.
Using that Eagles rally onto Crow, who takes so much damage in tow. They forced to use that training exercise just to get out of dodge, and all the meanwhile, the Jesters, they were on that ritual. They completed it for themselves, but in the duo lane, Desert Fury is going to be used on out early. Hydrogen has the root in tow, but a good pillar. Make sure we're stuck in here. It's time for the 1v1 Bayou, trying to get something happening here, but in the mid lane, Gumbo gets a double kill. Rabbit and Koja Fox fall on down, and Stallone is the next target. Blink is good, but the Spirit Root turnaround is better, but the Chain Lightning gets Gumbo a triple kill.
Oh, dude, you just can't stand next to the minions, but where else are you supposed to go? And this is going to catapult Gumbo to a massive lead. Bluestone, Soul Reaver already online. Feels like Gumbo is ahead of the curve in terms of what mage builds are good because, man, they are just looking solid every game that they play so far. And then that left side, you know, you're rooting for Vio to be able to get that solo kill, but Hydrogen does a really good job, you know, layering their abilities in such a way and keeping just far enough away from Vio so that they don't get caught up in all of the CC that an Honor has available to them. And one of the strongest parts about Newt, and this will be relevant like later on in later team fights, she's just so safe. You see that shifter shield coming online soon for the Newt too. Like, she's got the Aegis to be able to buy time. She can go up into the air, threaten the area around her, and then she's also got that ranged root, a little bit of a dash that has damage attached to it, so you have to be careful about fighting her when she's got that dash up. Means that Vayu isn't able to just, you know, oh, but a disperse in, go for an impale. No, that 100% gets you killed. So it's good plays there from Hydrogen, good plays there from Vayu, a lot of respect between the two ADCs, and good micro all around.
Crew getting the first gold fury of this game, the Jesters. They have themselves a solid 2.5k gold lead, almost 10 minutes in, 8 kills as opposed to the Crew's 2. And it's really hard for the Crew to just find those engagements or find wins across the map because the Jesters, they're winning handedly in every single lane.
Yes.
Oh.
They've got a little bit. What? Crow?
Oh,
Aegis
used, but he's still being ran on down. Training exercise under the tower to stay alive, but Eagles rally in. It means John Rowing wants himself a Crow. Rabbit is here, but just a little bit too late. World Weaver as well. So Shadow takes a bunch of damage, but Rabbit just doesn't want to go in, and I don't blame him.
Yeah, it's not a fight that you're really looking to take here. Meanwhile, left side, Vayu should be able to get away, but who can say for Krojira?
Jiro's been spotted on out, and here comes that River's Rebuke, stunned on down, but we have an Amanita Charm, Circle of Protections. I'm pretty sure Krodro has never felt safer under his tier 1 tower. Rabbit, though, spotted on out by JR under the tower. You stayed a little bit too long and paid for it once again.
Man, Krojiro is going to have so much sustain, and this is a good pick for Royal Jesters. It's reminiscent of the Afro pick that we saw in Game 1, just something that lets them take the fight a little bit longer.
The Spear Ball was good, and the Disperse on in means Hydrogen is in trouble. We're looking for damage. Shadow finds Stallone in the mid lane in between the tier 2 towers, but over on the left, we're still getting active. John Rowing also being ran down by Crow, and Hydrogen is still alive. Shell used on out, and we have our Wing Gust to finally get the kill. Koja Fox trying his best to use the Juke Shoes. There's the stun to try and knock him on down, but Crow, now 3 members of the Jesters have found you, and the Royal Jesters are winning on the left side. They're winning on the right side. What can the Crew do?
You got to take a couple of steps back. You got to go, okay, I might be down quite a bit of gold. It might be pretty early in the game, but I'll tell you what. We are going to farm as much as we can. We're going to stop dying. We're going to show up for this Moonlight Queen Naga, and we're going to go from there, right? So we need vision on the map, and we need to play together. Maybe even ward your own camps at this point. Like, if Gumbo is walking all the way up towards your mid-Phoenix, that tells you that something is disastrously wrong. We have good teamfight capability, right? We have Yemo ultimate, we have a Cupid ultimate, we have a Mulan. All the pieces are here to have a really good team fight. We just need to make sure that we're playing together as 5. That is the caveat for this team comp. We play together as 5. We should be able to win engagements. But if we try to split up our fights, it is not going to be as pretty for us as Royal Jesters find their first Gold Fury. But like this could be good.
Stuck inside the Fields of Love and uses that Aegis and kills a Rabbit in tow. That was 2 ultimates immuned by 1 Aegis. Gumbo coming up huge in this moment, and Stallone, you can't stay on that Pyromancer any longer because Gumbo just wasted enough time for the rest of his team to be on the way. Shadow doing his best to kill a Koja Fox in the back end side of it. Crow is here with the training exercise to at least try and make him pay for it. We pull him back on in, and the Fatal Strike isn't enough. A shutdown onto Shadow, and now the Crew trying to run on down. Gumbo secures the Pyromancer, and that is 1 Speedy Zeus. He's basically out of there, and the Crew, we at least got a kill off the back of it, but the Jesters, they come up with the objective.
And the Jesters are going to, be the ones to win just a bit harder than the Crew here because we're winning the stuff after we get the stuff, right? Being able to win a fight is one thing, being able to pull an objective is another thing afterwards, and that is what has been consistently pushing the Royal Jesters ahead of the Crew. Even back in game 2, like Crew would win a fight, overstay in the fight, and then lose the fight afterwards. It wasn't until Hydrogen kind of put the team on his back for a bit that the Crew were able to crawl out and make something happen here. Whereas Royal Jesters have been... Oh,
there. No, he's fine for now. Sorry to cut you off. I thought more was happening there. I saw him dash on in, but nope. You know what? Viu's safe for days.
yeah, he's got that all on her ultimate, as well as that relic, so he should be okay. But what I was trying to get at here is that Royal Jesters have been really good about just keeping themselves prioritized. Like, when they have a goal in mind for a game, they're usually pretty good about executing it. I think this game is a good example of that, right? Like, Gumbo is just massive on the Zeus at this point, and he's just going to be able to walk around and do whatever he wants to do. Bye, Koja.
Ooh. Koja Fox's Hexstone was cut on out. The Lightning Storm is good, but the River's Rebuke makes sure we don't get chased out too much longer. This tier 1 tower is going to be the next target up for these Jesters, and the Crew, though, on the wraparound. Hydrogen is here. It might be time for another fight, but I'm not sure if that's what you want to take. The pool was off the mark, and the Jesters, they're fast enough to get on out of there. Viu's coming back from base, and the damage in tow from Stallone and Koja Fox means they just took way too much trying to defend it. I don't know if they're going to keep going in after this pause.
It's going to be a little hard here. I mean, Crow and Rabbit have ultimates. Koja might not, but we still have some lockdown potential here. If I'm Crew, what you might want to do at this point is make the call to back off, because that Moonlight Queen Naga is going to be spawning, or it is spawned at this point. You have to put your foot down over there in order to make sure that Royal Jesters don't entirely run away with the game. You have good circles for that fight between Crow and Rabin, and Hydrogen is here as well. Gumbo doesn't have it all. So in my mind, this is like an ideal situation for the Crew. Like, this might be as good as it gets, right? Viu and Gumbo don't have ultimate, and that objective just came up. The stipulation here is the fact that like Koja's pretty poked and Stallone is pretty poked, so Rabbit and Koja need to make sure that they heal themselves and others. And then pick a fight around that Moonlight Queen Naga. If we can goad Royal Jesters into a corridor where Crow is able to root everybody into the Fields of Love and Rabbit's able to get a big Fields of Love pop, that's like the ideal scenario here, because Royal Jesters don't have their giant circles to fight back with in a battle of attrition, AoE situation. Crow Jiro's ult is good for a bit of sustain, but it lacks a little bit of the damage that a true int scaling ESET would have. The ESET aspect is going to have a lot of utility, but going to be lacking a little bit on that damage side. So this could be a very good engagement for the Crew, provided they can get Royal Jesters to take the bait around that objective. I feel like that's going to be the big stipulation.
We make our way back into game here, and in fact, both teams decide to back up a little bit. Stallone, in fact, takes so much damage on the back end side of it, but Rabbit goes in there, forces that fatal strike out. So at least getting a bit aggressive, but look at the Jesters trying to find the wrap around. We have the dash on out of there, but we used a Stampede, and, John Rowing has the blink, has the stun, and, Rabbit, he was there. Not anymore.
Yeah, everybody from the Crew kind of backed out. The Royal Jesters did not have such reservations. It'll be Crow here to defend by himself, but won't be able to hold it for very long.
As the Aegis, and there's the training exercise to hit 3 people, but you went straight into the circle of protections, and the Lightning Storm. Gumbo takes that guy on out of there. Koja Fox steps forward, trying to steal it, and he does! That's the second steal in this game, baby! The Crew get the first Gold Fury and the Queen Moonlight Naga.
Man, good stuff there from Koja Fox. Like, this guy, it's not the first time I've seen him pull shenanigans like this before. I very distinctly remember watching him steal away objectives time and time again, but that'll be a good lifeline for the Crew so that they're not totally behind in this game.
John Rowing running at Hydrogen under the tower, forces the Aegis, use the Eagles rally, and we're fine for now, but just barely. Hydrogen not looking like he's having a great time on this Newt. 0-3, and John Rowing just loves to run at someone who, does have a decent bit of disengage. Still going to get ran at pretty easily by Bologna.
Yeah, the Bologna is going to be able to get some really solid range on you there, too. Eagles Rally, Scourge, Shield Bash. It's kind of hard to get away from her. But, again, John Rowing's going to be super, super tanky this game too. Oh, ouch.
Koja Fox spotted on out, has the Cersei's Hexstone to get out, so he's fine for now, and we went straight into the Fields of Love. Now taking a bunch of damage on the backhand side of it is Crojuro. Shadow, though, finds Hydrogen in the mid lane, and now we're pincering back onto Rabbit here. Falls on down, Vayu picks up that kill as well, and now we're fighting in the circle of protection. Crow falls on down to Vayu's hands, and the lone John Rowing is keeping the rest of the crew out as they pick up a Pyromancer and start to go towards the Fire Giant.
Yeah, I mean, who is going to stop you from taking this fire? Stallone is coming out from base, and you have eyes on Koja, and you have more than enough damage. Like, Vayu is an on her with Avenging Blade, so we have a ton of shred. Gumbo's massive at this point, level 18. That's a 4-level lead over Stallone, so it is a free FG for Royal Jesters. And to make matters worse, right, just a little added panache here. Both Gumbo and Shadow have finished up their shifter shield. So not only are you massive and you have a bunch of big base numbers and you're Zeus and you're slamming people with your Soul Reaver Bluestone, you can't die. It just is not going to happen, right? 45 physical and magical protections when you're below 75% health? Brother!
Yeah.
Get a grip. it's not gonna work out. So Royal Jesters, the ball is in their court. This game is theirs to lose, it feels like. The crew have so many good team fight tools that we just have not been able to layer effectively, except for one kill on the Zeus in the early game.
We're almost 19 minutes into this game. The Jesters have 20 kills as opposed to the crew's 3, and looky down there, 9.5K gold lead. It's dangerous territory. Dare I say, territory for the crew here, because every engagement just keeps going their way, and Koja Fox is going a more, like, int-styled build. Has that Deso, and I think they're electing to go what might be a Soul Reaver next. I don't know. It's just, like, the front line is just so squishy at this point.
Yeah, and oh yeah, we see Stallone as that soul gem there to go with that Dorb. I really do feel like if you're not building Soul Reaver, you are just missing out. Like, you need Soul Reaver to kill tanks. Look at John Rowing here. He doesn't care. Hydrogen's dead. But the whole time this is happening, Bologna is like 1v3.
And almost winning. Look at Koja Fox's health. They have to get on out of here. And John Rowing doesn't care because he has Death Stole, he has Scourge, he has healing for days. He's healing more damage than he's taking, and the crew couldn't even get the kill by baiting out Hydrogen.
Yeah, I mean, even if you gang up on John Rowing at this... Oh, Rabbit's dead. Even if you gang up on John Rowing at this point, like, between Berserkers and Shifters, like, when you fall below 60 health, you get something like an extra 35 of each prot, which just kind of pushes John Rowing over this edge of, like, well, I'm not going to die, and if I sit here with Scourge, I get to heal for a whole bunch. Because remember, Scourge healing is scaling off of protections, right? So, like, ugh. And look, we're building Dwarven plate too. It's so good, man. It's just so hard to kill these guys. There's not nearly enough pet.
Tank's World, we're all living it. John Rowing jumps over that Yamoja ultimate. All the meanwhile, we're trying to find something in the back end side of it. Crojuro stays alive. We have an Aegis of our own, and Crow can't say the same. He falls on down, and the crew, they already ran back down to their Phoenix, and the lone man mountain, John Rowing, is trying to find a kill. Fields of Love stuns out 3, and we have the dash on out of there, but we got a couple of charges around our neck. Oh, not for too much longer, so Rabid able to get out of there this time, but the rest of the Jesters, 5 members strong, they have Fire Giant for another 50 seconds, and they're all hitting this bird. It falls on down, and John Rowing, still unkillable. Say his name, because he's top damage, probably top mitigated, and the Jesters are just doing a Phoenix sweep. They make their way to the solo side, and the crew, they're trying to step forward to defend.
They don't really have the tools to be able to keep him away. Hydrogen and Stallone have ultimates, but everybody else is just a health bar waiting to be chewed up and spit out. FG falls off in 20 seconds, however. And that will be what causes the Royal Jesters to take a step back. But that is a crippling blow to lose 2 Phoenixes. We've seen this situation before, back in game 1, where Royal Jesters were able to effectively cripple out what the crew was able to do. And man, you just look at the builds across the board here. I see Shadow and Gumbo both have Shifters and Dwarven back-to-back. Twinning. And they're still dealing just an absurd amount of damage. They're right up there with John Rowing in terms of how much damage that they're able to deal. Because all of Gumbo's damage, most of Gumbo's damage, is coming from that Bluestone Soul Reaver. That is like what we're relying on here. And a Chronos Pendant. So we're just spamming our cooldowns and throwing down a ton of CC because of our Lightning Strikes as well. And when you have Vayu here, they have that Executioner in their third slot and the Avenging Blade. So we don't even need penetration, because as long as Vayu is here throwing attacks out and hitting people with their spears in a team fight or on an objective, the rest of our the rest of the gods on our team are going to be able to shred away their health bar too. So it feels like Vayu's job is penetration duty, and everybody else is there to just kill.
It has the Fields of Love, but the Stampede on the back end side of it means the rest of the team is just going to run you down. You stepped forward just to meet your own death. And listen, if the crew, they draft this team fight composition, what do? Never let them team fight. Pick off 1-for-1. Hydrogen, though, it's aggressive here in the duo lane, forces Vayu on out, and into the Skyfall we go. Can we hit it, and would it be enough damage? Damage ain't good this time, because, well, Gumbo is on the back end side of it, drops a Lightning Storm on your head, and he has autos of his own. Shadow steals the kill, his 11th one of the game, and all the meanwhile, we're winning on the left side. Why not win on the right side, too? Crow has been spotted out by a John Rowing and a Crow Jiro, and he's taking stun, taking damage. He's tanky, sure, but the rest of the team's on the way. Stallone is here and has damage, but hey, if the Carry shows his face, forces out a beats, he's going to be the new target. Runs back home as well. And look at John Rowing's health bar. Doesn't even look like he's being attacked at all. This guy has more healing, more damage than anyone else on the crew.
I think it's impressive to me that Crow is level 16 at this point and is able to survive that onslaught for so long. Even enough to be able to walk away as Koja Fox throws up that River's Rebuke to keep him off. But the whole time this is happening, Moon, Royal Jesters are just picking up a Fire Giant. Do they wait for EFG? No. We could have. Low key. But that's fine. Like, yeah. I don't think we need it at this point in the game. If you're waiting for EFG, it's like, all right, you know?
Well, we gotta be waiting for a little bit more, because over on the right side, they're still getting aggressive. John Rowing hasn't left. He's been here the entire time, and Rabid just respawned to use his Aegis and possibly, yep, die again. Double kill for Shadow. Eagles rally is good for JR because he's still getting in there, but the Aegis was used too early by Crow, so he's going to fall on down as well. The Royal Jesters as 5 step into the Titan room. Lightning Storm is doing tons of damage, but Shadow's taking a little bit in tow as well. It's set to Stallone and Hydrogen to try and get a kill, but the shell keeps them alive, so Shadow isn't even dead yet. The Skyfall ain't enough, and all the meanwhile, we're still in the Titan. The Royal Jesters win the set 2.
Very, very commanding victory from the Jesters at the end there. And it's unfortunate too. I mean, the crew had such a good, they had a really solid game 2 there, but the way that the game started for the Jesters, I mean, Shadow ganks dual lane early, keeps Hydrogen in check. Gumbo wins a 2v1 by virtue of not getting hit, and baits Rabid and it's Stallone over towards John Rowing and Shadow, who had, you know, Goku instant transportation over to the solo side of the lane to be able to clean that up. Damage mitigated? Oh, only 58k. All right, well, that's reasonable. I mean, the self-healing is a little much, though. Let's be honest. 38k damage taken, 30k player damage. It's pretty good. That's pretty solid. That's not too bad.
I was gonna say, you can have top damage mitigated, maybe top self-healing, but you also can't have top player damage as well. John Rowing just ran down the map. It's fake, but he hurt. He hurt those last team fights, and we just couldn't kill him. It was just whacking on like Crow for like minutes. Crow didn't die, sure, but also couldn't really do too much about it. The Royal Jesters, you said it, they win game number 3 incredibly convincingly.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of it has to do with the fact that Hydrogen is sitting there 0-6-0. Like, your captain was not given the space to play the game, and that is undeniably the strongest player on your team. So I feel like there needed to be more attention paid to the duo side of things to give Hydrogen some chances to breathe, to play, so that they can, you know, be that big damage leader that we saw when they were on the Jing Wei. But they just got heat checked by Shadow immediately and then shoved into a locker. Like, they really did not get a chance to execute on anything that they wanted to do. So it's a really good win there from the Royal Jesters. They knew exactly who they had to target, they knew how they had to do it, and they were able to bully out their lane opponents appropriately wherever they were not. I mean, Gumbo was just a menace, right? I mean, the Zeus pick kind of came out of left field, but it did a ridiculous amount of damage, and it was very, very effective.
You take away Gumbo's dashes, and he's just going to run at you still. He has the movement speed. He's going to do your entire health bar, throw lightning storms on top of you, and absolutely nuke you. But hey, that's what happens. The Royal Jesters now, their score 1-1, and unfortunately, the crew still unable to find that win. Now 0-2 in this moment, but that's the end of us, what we have here for you. My name's Moonmolos. Thank you, Musi, for joining me, and thank you to Nova Shark for keeping the lights on running, and thank you, all of you watching. Really lets us run it down and talk and scream about games. But hey, we're not done just yet. We'll be back next week with some more OSL action. Until then, see you later.
I've been underestimated, but I survived and became strong.